The next video is sent in by Jay Blake, and it is how Irminsul works and why that matters. Let's check this out.
Sup buckaroos, I'm here with a shorter video because I want to clear up a misconception that has been ravaging through the Genshin community for a while now, that Irminsul somehow actually changes the past. Long story short.
So this is something that I feel like I've had conversations. I'm gonna turn off captions just for this because it's speaking. It's very clear, I think. But this is something I had a conversation with people, and I think that I was definitely terrible at explaining it in some way. My stance, because what happens with Irminsul is Irminsul changes the records and people's memories and people's idea of things, but the past itself isn't changed. And I definitely think that I am very bad at conveying that idea sometimes, for sure.
Kind of a
because more than one person has said it.
It does not. It only changes people's memory of what happened, and the deeds of the past remain unchanged. So let's break this down and start with what Irminsul actually is. Irminsul is depicted as a really big silver-white colored tree. This tree is big and magical, and it is big and magical because it is connected to the ley lines of the world. So what are the ley lines? Well, one of the loading screen tips that we get says that ley lines are, quote, a mysterious network that links the whole world together, within which flows the elements. It said that ley lines remember all things that happen in this world from the surface down to the deepest depths. Irminsul's branches, which reach far into the world of Teyvat, are tied to the ley lines. Because of this, every memory that flows through the ley lines eventually make their way to a branch of Irminsul, and that memory then becomes a part of Irminsul. This makes Irminsul less of a tree and more of a database that collects and stores every memory that has flown through the ley lines. Think of it as
Right, so we have, okay, I'm going to pause every once in a while just to get my idea together, just get the idea of the video so I can understand as we're going forward. So yeah, a database, right? Also, I love this is very much me recording in the past when I have to move the mouse off the screen very quickly.
The brain of Teyvat, it remembers all. So that's a very brief rundown of how Irminsul works to our knowledge at this point of the game. I will admit there is more to Irminsul and how it works, and it has a few more functions than just being a database, but those are irrelevant to the argument I'm making right now.
No, fine. Yeah, 100%. You're making a video on this topic.
Is a store of all the memories that have flown through the ley lines. Notice that in the entire description, I never once mentioned Irminsul having a tangible effect on the tangible world. That's because it doesn't. It simply just does not. Irminsul is literally just a tree. It's a magical tree, but it is still just a tree. Just like how a server farm for Google can't hop into a car and pick up your coffee, Irminsul can't really affect the world in a very tangible way. So then how did Scaramouche change the past? How was Rukkhadevata removed from the past?
So I will say this seems like again, I wasn't around for this discussion, but it seems like this person's very passionate about this, and it seems like this was very prevalent in the discussions about Genshin at this time. But you can let me know if it wasn't, because the way you're saying, you're like, it is not. It is not. You know what I mean? And I can understand that if it's been a topic that's been all over the place.
It didn't actually change the past. It didn't change what Scaramouche.
I hope it didn't sound like I was insulting this creator, by the way, because I think they're doing a fantastic job so far. I'm just saying that I over-exaggerated how they were saying, but I'm saying I wonder if it was a topic at the time. So if you are watching this, Whale Milk, I did not mean to insult you whatsoever. I hope it didn't insult you. I meant that there was passion coming out of your voice, but I definitely over-exaggerated it.
He still did all those things, killed those people, joined the Fatui, stole Gnosis, and he is of the same origin. And Rukkhadevata still existed, did all the things that she did, fought corrosion, sacrificed herself, and so on. The only thing that changed is how that information is logged inside of Irminsul, and we know that because the Traveler, which is not plugged into Irminsul, remembers the things that were erased from it. For example, let's look at Greater Lord Rukkhadevata. In the Archon quest, we would learn that Rukkhadevata was the previous Dendro Archon who sacrificed herself in order to rid Irminsul of corruption due to forbidden knowledge. However, before she died, she created Nahida out of the purest branch of Irminsul to continue on as a Dendro Archon.
Nahida is the purest branch.
She then removed the memory of forbidden knowledge from Irminsul and then sacrificed
spiritually
herself
and literally
to try and completely rid the world of the knowledge. But when Rukkhadevata died, she didn't fully die because the people of Teyvat still remembered her. Her memory still existed in the ley lines, and with it was the forbidden knowledge she took the burden of, which caused the effects of it to spread back through the ley lines and affect people with things like Elazar. To solve this problem, Rukkhadevata had Nahida completely erase her from Irminsul. What this did was remove the memory of Rukkhadevata and her doings from the mind of every person, and completely expunged her from the ley lines. This does not change the past. It only makes everybody and everything forget it. But because nobody remembers Rukkhadevata, the world is still still different due to what she did, and
Yep.
her impact on the world is still tangible. So Irminsul has to do a bit of retconning to make sure everything makes sense and to avoid cosmic plot holes and paradox. Now, the difference between actually changing the past and changing everybody's perception of the past is extremely fuzzy and is a philosophical discussion to be had by people that know what they're talking about. But the only reason we can still vaguely approximate where that line is because of descenders such as Ether and, as Scaramouche's collected miscellany demonstrates, Alice. Before we get into that, let's talk about how Scaramouche affected Irminsul. So Scaramouche had an extremely turbulent past, as we probably know at this point, filled with identity crisis, betrayal, and mommy issues. A list way too long to cover in this video, and is something that has been covered extensively elsewhere. Long story short, he was dropped on a street corner, he met some people, killed some people, and Skara and ourselves into Irminsul to do something
he feels terrible for this
tangentially
stuff.
related. Skara, believing that changing Irminsul can change the past, takes the chance and erases all of his deeds from Irminsul. Soon after, we see Skara, now the Wanderer, helping out a fruit merchant, none the wiser of his true
The best
past.
time ever.
And I think it's this scene in particular that gets people so mixed up about what Irminsul can do. Before Skara does the funny thing, he asks us directly if Irminsul can change the past. We do not answer this, as it's complicated, and we cannot divulge the true past regarding Rukhtavata in order to keep Irminsul pure, but Skara takes the silence as a yes, which is a false assumption. But I think a lot of people miss the fact that this was an assumption made out of ignorance and impulsivity by Skara, and that he is just incorrect here, and that our lack of answer was not because he was right and we didn't want to tell him, but because answering the question truthfully would cause quite a few problems, and because
Well, a lot of inversion of Genesis was showing that no matter what, even though like Scaramouche in people's memories didn't do the things that he said he did, like it wasn't going to change things. Things still happened the way they did. Scaramouche may be may became the Wanderer and became Vaughn, but no matter what, those people still got attacked. You know, Niwa still died. They still died in some way. You weren't going to stop those things. Only going to change the way in people's memories that they actually happened and in history the way they happened. The Tori became like it stood in place for a lot of stuff that happened with Scaramouche, like looking off and, you know, like standing on the beach and stuff like that.
Answering the question truthfully in the first place is a difficult task based entirely on hearsay. So when Skara jumps into Irminsul to erase his past, he has the false impression that what he is doing is actually changing what he did, removing what he did, changing the past so that he never did those things. Instead, what he's actually doing is erasing himself from everybody's memories, leaving a massive hole in Irminsul's data that Irminsul just has to fill to keep things coherent and functional, including his own memories. Irminsul is forced to create this story that the Wanderer just kind of showed up in Sumeru and found a fruit merchant and started helping him out, and plants that story in the minds of both Scaramouche and the fruit merchant, as well as everybody else that is relevant, so the world can continue working as intended with no hiccups. So now that Scaramouche has been wiped,
which is kind of crazy that like they were just like, hey, like, okay, let's put this in your mind that you are a fruit merchant. You know what I mean? And like, it's really interesting, like that the fruit merchant's like, hey, you've come here every day, and that's the story. You know what I mean? That's the most baseline story we have.
And replaced with the Wanderer, and all logical vacuums left by doing that filled with falsified stories. There are only a small handful of people that are even capable of remembering who Skara truly was and what he truly did, and those people are the Descenders. So Descenders are people that have descended upon Teyvat from another world, and because they are from another world, they are not tied to Irminsul and the ley lines. The mechanics of this is still not entirely understood to us, and there is probably a way for a Descender to become a part of Teyvat and Irminsul and the ley lines, but right now it's unclear, and that's a different story for a different video. All that matters right now is that Descenders are not a part of Teyvat, ergo they are not tied to ley lines, ergo their memories are not logged in Irminsul, ergo any mass modification of the world's memories does not affect the memories of Descenders. Descenders are
it's kind of like there's another show. I'm not gonna say what show it is because I don't want to spoil anything, but there's a show I watch where like the gods of the world can only speak to the people that like worship that god or are people of that god. So like it's like the people who are outside that will be unaffected by that.
Immune to the tampering of Irminsul's data. This leaves Descenders with a very important job of witnessing the events of the world and being the sole bearer of those memories that might have been expunged from Irminsul. As of writing the script, the only person that we know that is 100% a Descender is Ether. and that the Abyss sibling is not for some reason. However, we can theorize who else is a descender, and one way to do that is to find people that remember the things that have been erased from Irminsul, things that they technically should not be able to remember.
That's pretty smart.
And there is only one person that we know of in this game that has this ability, Alice. When Scaramuche's Collected Miscellany trailer came out, we were surprised to find that Dainsliff was not narrating it, as he usually does, and instead we were met with a smiley, upbeat female voice. This voice, as we know from previous Collected Miscellanies she has narrated, is Alice, or Klee's mother. Alice has narrated 3 Collected Miscellanies so far, Aloy, Dory, and Scaramuche, and it's Scaramuche's trailer that really hammers home the possibility that Alice is a descender. Alice is narrating this trailer because Dane, canonically, can't, because he has no idea who Scaramuche is.
I have to watch this trailer
past. On the other hand, Alice seemingly knows everything about Scaramuche's past, even though she shouldn't. She's narrating about the Wanderer, or Scaramuche, after he cleared himself from Irminsul, so Alice is either looking into the future to give us this information, or, Occam's razor, she's just remembering everything that got erased from Irminsul.
See, that's the thing. It could be that, but like, could it also be this thing that it's used as a narrative? You know, it's one of those things where it's like, it's not always going to be a part of the story, that it could just be used as like, it's like we've already used Alice's voice actor or whatever to do these trailers. Could it be this thing where like, it's like, okay, like we're going to use the same voice actor and it's just to get across the point of this story. It's not exactly anything to do with the actual like remembering of the, like, I'm not saying it is or it isn't. I'm saying, could it also be that? Could it also be that they're just like, look, we've always done this, let's keep doing this. It's just going to be used as a narrative like approach to tell this story, not exactly relating to the actual idea of like remembering everything that was erased. If that makes sense. I don't know.
Those memories.
Again, I don't know.
Alice says something at the end of Skyra's Collected Miscellany trailer that really drives this point home and pretty much proves everything I've said thus far.
People can find ways to forget, but they can't undo what they've done, and there's no escaping the past. The Wanderer learned this the hard way.
Now, before I leave, I'm going to wrap this whole thing up with a little bit of literary theory, because...
You see, that's the thing, though. I wonder if it is that, and I totally get that it could be that. If it is a thing where it's like, is it the idea that Alice is... How do I say this? Is it that Alice is actually remembering all this stuff, or is it that Alice is just like a narrative tool or a narration tool that they use as well? Like, she's a character, but she's also like a process they use to narrate stories, that she can break the fourth wall just because it is like, because already, you know, narrating a trailer is breaking the fourth wall in a lot of ways too. You know what I mean? I haven't seen this trailer, so we'll have to watch the trailer itself.
This is actually something I find very...
If you guys want me to watch that trailer, and like, if you guys think it would be, we might even do it outside of Roman Reacts. We might just react to it next Monday, maybe. What do you guys think?
So there's this whole idea that when we say we don't want to die, what we're really saying...
I think they are doing a really good job of describing this. Like I said, I feel like my description of all of this, or at least my, like, you know, I think the way you probably look at it, guys, I understood 90% of it, and then, or maybe like I understood 90% of it, 10% I definitely didn't understand. I was definitely had holes in the way I was describing it, and then I think also like I misinterpreted some stuff, and then I definitely did not explain it in a way that was good. Like, I used the word fate and stuff like this, which isn't always like applicable. So this is like a really good video for that.
Is that we don't want to lose all of our memories, and we don't want to break that constant flow of remembering and adding on to our long catalog of memories, because those memories are what makes us us. Our identity is the summation of all of the memories we have gathered up to this point in our lives, even though we might not remember every single thing that has happened to us. Our brain does a routine forgetting of unimportant information, and some of those things that we have forgotten are these really happy memories that made a huge impact on us. But the fact that we forgot those doesn't mean that thing no longer has an impact on us. It still happened. It's just we don't remember how it changed us. And that change, that one thing that we have forgotten, is like a ripple in the pond. The pond may have forgotten that the pebble landed in the water in the first place, but the ripples are still spreading out, making
incredible way to
changes
describe
to the
it, actually.
surface
Incredible
level
way
of the water. Don Hertzfeldt, creator of films like The World of Tomorrow and It's Such a Beautiful Day, has a really interesting quote about this. He says, "What's interesting is when you talk about that, living forever, or as long as you possibly can, what you really want is a continuation of your memories and your experiences. If I said you could live another 200 years, but we'd have to reboot you, that's not attractive. Nobody wants that. And that's an idea I think is core to both Scaramouche's story and the Traveler's story. In a Twitter thread AShikai made about the misunderstanding of what Irminsul can do, a Twitter thread that inspired this video I should add, she says that it's almost a commentary on mass censorship. And while I think that's definitely a part of it, I think there's a more nuanced discussion about memory and how flawed and
Can you repeat that again, please?
that inspired this video I should add. She says that it's almost
Sorry.
this story and the Traveler's story. In a Twitter thread AShikai made about the misunderstanding of what Irminsul can do, a Twitter thread that inspired this video I should add, she says that it's almost a commentary on mass censorship. And while I think that's definitely a part of it, I think there's a more nuanced discussion about memory and how flawed and human it is going on here.
I think that the story beforehand was definitely a commentary on mass censorship. I think the idea of like censoring the arts was definitely censorship, but maybe like the concept of like Irminsul itself erasing people's memories, I don't see it directly as like an attempt to like censor people. I think it's more of an attempt to like satiate people's worries and minds and make the world a better place. Whilst I think the opposite what the academia was doing, they were generally making the world a bit worse for some people by censoring the arts and stuff
So
like
far,
this.
twice we have seen data in Irminsul get erased, and each time we see somebody fundamentally change due to this. Nahida erasing the memories of Rukkhadevata causes Nahida to become much more confident in her abilities, as she is no longer in the shadow of Rukkhadevata, and nobody is pressuring her to live up to her predecessor anymore, because as far as they know, her predecessor doesn't exist. And Scaramouche erasing all of his memories causes him to become the Wanderer, lost and confused. And in both cases, we, the audience and Ether, are left to be the only people that remember what truly happened. What's so interesting is that Ether is the only character we have met that has a completely unbroken stream of memories as far as we can tell. His memory is the only memory that has not been touched by Irminsul that we have met, and he is contrasted so heavily against Scaramouche, who lost everything because he regretted his past and wanted to forget everything. And I think this contrast that is painted here goes to demonstrate the idea that yes, you can forget, you can cause everybody to forget, but that's not solving anything. The only reason Scaramouche becomes our travel companion and becomes a better person overall is because we remembered everything and we allowed him to remember as well and to come to terms with everything that he did. Forgetting your problems and causing everybody to forget your problems doesn't solve anything.
Yeah, as we know, it's still all the things that happened still happened. Niwa still died, and like in people's memories, maybe like died in like just as horrific of a way. Dotori like still was at large. It didn't change Dotori. It didn't change his trajectory at all. All this stuff still happened. Like even like the gnosis being taken from us, or from Yaimiko is probably taken in a different way.
Avoiding it.
In the memories of stuff,
like
in
fictional
people's
aspect
memories
to this
and
interpretation
Yaimiko's
with
memory.
things like unreconciled stars and other events in the past that aren't being logged in the game, because events like those are left to the memories of the players, and our memories are no more perfect than the traveler on the screen. And this creates a really cool meta-narrative where we have to trust our own memories and our experiences to continue forward, just like Ether has to trust his own memories, and he's the only person that can remember some of the things that happen in this game. Eventually, we will forget a large portion of our adventures in this world, but the impact that those adventures made on us will remain. We are different people now because of this game, of the people that we've met and the things that we've seen in the story that was told to us, even if we might not remember how it made us different, just like a pond might not remember that a pebble had landed in it 20 minutes ago. Do I think this is intentional? No, but I think it's a really cool thing to think about. We have created
you can think that's one of those things that like, it's your own interpretation at that point.
We can't really relive them the same way. We have the memories of them in our experiences and the thoughts and our emotions of the first time we experienced those things, and that's enough. It's the message that kind of came with Unus Annus in that whole quote from Dr. Seuss that goes, "Don't cry because it's over, smile because it happened. Live life with your memories and be grateful that you have them." So what's the major takeaway here? Well, long story short, limited time events should stay limited time and not be officially logged anywhere.
I disagree
Excuse
so
me while I
heavily.
do this
Bring back the
little
limited time
outro.
events.
I usually hate doing this, but I really need to start plugging my shit, so
No,
here
plug.
we go. If you
Plug.
enjoyed this video, please consider hitting the subscribe button. And if you want to go above and beyond in supporting this channel, you can become a member and get some neat perks in exchange for a few schmeckles every month. I have a Twitter where I post random shit, and I have a Discord where you can hang out with other people and get notifications when I upload or go live. Finally, I live stream every Sunday here on YouTube, so feel free to pop in and say hi. I think that's everything. Thank y'all so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye-bye.
I think where this video definitely comes in handy is like for someone like me who did like, and again, I'm not very good at explaining it. I think I've had many discussions with people in the comments, and I think I did misconstrue some stuff for sure, because I use the idea of fate. I talk about fate, which isn't exactly right. So I feel like sometimes like it definitely comes to head with like the actual idea of like what it is, because it's not just fate. Because I'm always like, oh, fate will happen no matter what. But in reality, it's kind of like more like yes, fate will not let this change, but it's not fate that makes this stuff happen. It's just that this stuff already happened. That's always like where like I always got like some aspects wrong for sure. But not only just getting it wrong, but just like I feel like my explanation of what I know is wrong, because, you know, I love the idea of fate and love the idea of describing fate, but sometimes like that's just not exactly what it is. So I do thank you for sending this in. It's always good to see videos like this and see videos from creators like this. The only thing like I would kind of like push back on a little bit, and that's okay, that's what interpretation is about, is the idea of the Alice thing. For me personally, I think that sometimes games can just like use a character as a narrator to describe things. And like they might not be involved in the story, it might not be involved in all this stuff, you know what I mean? They don't have to be. Sometimes they are just there to be a narrator, and I think that could be it. Again, I don't know enough about Alice apart from like, you know, the stuff we've read in the travel guides. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to read some more of those, man. Like I feel like I've been neglecting the books way too much, but there's so much stuff in the game. There's so much stuff in the game. Yeah, but that's my only like pushback I think as well about that, is that I do think that maybe like Alice being a descender from a trailer is probably, I don't think they would like reveal that information. I guess it is a theory, but you know what I mean? I think it's just that, like her breaking the fourth wall a little bit. I think they let Alice break the fourth wall a tiny bit sometimes. But thank you so much for sending in, JB. Like that was a really interesting video, and Whale Milk actually like making a very well presented video here. The next video is sent in by Azadrak, and some people might be like, hey, this video is longer than the video I got to send in at 23 minutes. What happened was there was two people who sent in videos last week, and that was Malcolm Kunde and Azadrak, and there was this mess up, a little bit of a mix up. It was solved though, and it was, you know, it's to do with some stuff, whatever. But I said, since like the mess up happened so close to the actual recording and we couldn't fix it, I said just send in 2 videos next week, and I thought was the best way to go about it. And anyone who has been sending in videos knows that there is a mess up, that I usually do say, hey, send in 2 videos the next week then. You know, it's only if there's a mess up and like it's something that could have been fixed if like we if I was like more aware of it earlier or something like that. You know what I mean? That's generally what happens. So really, like, I'm always like, hey, just send in 2. Just send in 2. It's cool. So that's why this video will be a little bit longer. And it's What is the Descender Genshin Impact Theory from Azrak, and it's by AShikai, by the way. Let's check it out.
I hate to break it to you guys,
AShikai opens with, "Do you ever hear that YouTuber Romer? He
but
sucks."
this whole Descender thing, it isn't new. We've always known the twins were Descenders. We just didn't really understand the context. See, the Traveler's character story explicitly says
I just say
they
AShikai is one of the best
descended to
voices
the continent of Teyvat.
on
The
YouTube.
PlayStation exclusive glider and the weapon are called the Wings and Sword of Descension. And even in the opening
Oh my God.
cutscene,
Are you
it talks
se-
about how the twins fell to Teyvat. And the more you look
Yeah, there is
back,
a literal
the more
dissension,
obvious
isn't
this
there?
whole Descender thing becomes. But if that's the case, then why did this revelation come as such a shock during Chapter 3? Is it that most simply forgot the Traveler descended from above? Or is it that there are Descenders other than the Traveler?
I think it's we always know like the literal descending, right? But like we don't always like think about the idea of like if that's of like greater importance to like Teyvat, you know what I mean, in terms of Teyvat's history.
Is it that the Traveler's twin, who should be a Descender, isn't considered one? I won't pretend to know, but I do have an idea, so in this video we are going to investigate exactly that, this whole concept of Descenders, as part 2 of this 3-part investigation continues. As always, links for further reading and watching will be in the description box, while any corrections, clarifications, or fun tidbits will be in a pinned comment. I will also leave links to both Part 1 and Part 3 as they become available in the description box as well, so please make sure to check those out. They're not necessary, but highly recommended. Alrighty then, let's pick up where we last left off in part 1 and talk about the Descenders.
Let's go. I'm
Well-
actually really excited for this because this is a topic that like I haven't really explored as much as maybe I could have. But then again, I don't want to like explore too many things. I don't join in on theories like outside of this because I generally don't like get the time to. I guess sometimes, you know what I mean, not the time to. I don't have the time to sometimes, but also like I also think that like. I tend to not join in on theories too often just because I don't want to get spoiled. That's
We
basically
know
it.
of the existence of at least 4 Descenders. We actually only know of 1 confirmed Descender, and that's the Traveler. So basically everything we know about Descenders in general can only be viewed within the context of the Traveler, which is honestly fine because that still gives us plenty of material to work with. This doesn't mean that all Descenders will be like the Traveler, though, just that it's almost impossible to make any real predictions about what other Descenders might be like because all Descenders only have 2 things in common. The fact that they descended from above, and the fact that Irminsul does not contain any records on them.
There we go.
But just the fact that they're called Descenders is enough to imply that they came from other worlds or are alien to Teyvat in some way. Aliens
And with these videos, by the way, guys, I hope you don't mind. Like, I will be quiet during some of it, and then I'll be interjecting after a while. It's just that I don't want to like interrupt, so I can actually understand what's going
wouldn't
on.
be able to be recorded by Irminsul as they would likely be completely incompatible, right? That's just logical. But this doesn't actually seem to be the case at all. While the Traveler is described as being an alien life form in their character stories, there are a lot of things that kind of contradict this idea. For one, only humans, well, humans with visions, are said to be able to ascend to Celestia where they will attain godhood. An alien life form should not be able to do this, and yet the character cards for the Traveler and their character stories also claim that they will ascend to the seat of God. But the Traveler doesn't seem to be human, and they're also unable to acquire a vision. Therein lies a contradiction. And it gets a little bit worse. Despite definitely coming from beyond the firmament and traveling to countless other worlds, the twins have a lot of bizarre connections to Teyvat itself, enough to be really suspicious. For example, not only can the Traveler use elemental energy without a vision, which is an ability that was only otherwise available to a non-human like...
And they mention this all the time, by the way. They mention, like, in the game, like, it's always, like literally people who are giving us jobs will be like, oh, I don't think you'll be able to do this. You need someone who has a vision. And Paimon will be like, he literally kind of does. He just doesn't have one. He has all the abilities of that, you know?
An Archon or an Adeptus, but they can also wield multiple elements at the same time without an external apparatus.
Yeah.
And this is something we have only seen Ajdahad do, and even then he probably only gets that ability from his deep connections to the ley lines. And no, Scaramouche's boss form does not count, but that is a completely separate discussion. The Traveler can also...
I love that AShikai does that sometimes in their lore videos where they go, and no, this is not that. Let's move on. You know what I mean? It's a really good way of doing stuff. So like, it's not just like always like being interrupted, you know?
connect with Irminsul, which is basically like the root server of the entire world. And this takes basically no effort at all the while producing resin on a daily basis. This resin is the same resin they use to re-energize petrified offshoots of Irminsul in exchange for crystallized memories in the form of artifacts and weapon materials. That's a pretty peculiar ability for some unrelated alien to have, don't you think? And don't forget that the Traveler knows exactly what the teleport waypoints are used for, even though no one else in Teyvat does. If that doesn't seem suspicious to you...
That's... Again, I never thought about this. Like, there's, like... So he knows about them, but everyone else is like, oh, whatever.
Remind you that the teleport waypoints utilize the ley lines in order to warp you around. If the Traveler is an alien, then why do they know how to use these instinctively?
Yeah.
The answer is quite simple. The Traveler is from Teyvat. If you're confused how they can be both an alien descender and also be from Teyvat, well, I was too. Until I remembered something rather important.
I thought AShikai was saying they were an alien descender from Teyvat.
I would like
was
to
like,
bring your
makes sense,
attention to the infamous
honestly.
book Before Sun and Moon. This book is basically the most reliable record we have on the genesis of Teyvat.
Yep.
If you haven't read it, you should, as it appears to be a record that Irminsul failed to alter. More on that one in a bit. While the entire book is a treasure trove of info and theory fodder, it's the very first section that's always stood out to me. Let me read it to you and show you what I mean. Well, actually, I want to read you a direct translation of the passage from Chinese because the nuances are a little bit different than the official localization, and I think it's important. Here we go. The eternal throne of heaven has come and the world has been renewed. Then the true king, the original one, went to war with the masters of the old world, the 7 terror kings. Those terrible kings are dragons. So here's the thing. This passage implies that the world was ruled by dragons at one point. That's not new. But not that it was always ruled by dragons. Being called the true king suggests that the primordial one at least had some claim to this world despite coming from somewhere else.
Could that be also, again, I'm not going to, AShikai knows more than I do in some things. Could that be also like a thing where like calling yourself the true king? You know what I mean? Like, we've had kings before, they're like, I am the one true king.
Enough to wage a war against a currently dominant species, anyway. If they didn't actually have a real claim to the planet, then they should be considered an alien, right? So the primordial one then goes on to win the war against the dragons, terraform the Earth, and create the human race. Which means human would have alien origins if the primordial one is also an actual alien. Like, on the one hand, you can argue that because humans were created on Earth, they are therefore a native species to Earth, but I'm not too sure about that. Because Genshin references both Abrahamic and Gnostic mythology in its genesis, and in those myths, God created humans in his own image. If this holds up, then that means that if the primordial one is an alien, then humans would be based off of them and therefore also alien.
So, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. The idea that like it's not about them like being aliens like as an aliens but from a different place. What it is that like just like God created people in his image, if the God of this world is an alien, then all of them would also be aliens is what they're saying. But also like saying like, okay, if they have a claim to this world, then would they be truly alien? You know what I mean? If they have a proper claim, like a true claim to this world.
And, the reverse is true. If the primordial one is not an alien, then humans that are based on him are also not aliens, right? So this begs the question, is the primordial one an alien? Well, it turns out Khaenri'ah seemed to have the same question because during the quest to acquire this book Before Sun and Moon, Enjo says that Khaenri'ah sent a delegation to Enkanamiya in order to find proof that Celestia came from beyond this world. In other words, proof that Celestia and those within it are aliens. He also makes the...
I didn't even pick up on that when it came to the Enjo thing, and that's why I think like AShikai is so good, because I think like the stuff like it's like picking up the pieces as you go along, right? That's so interesting. That's the, because I guess like Celestia, whenever Celestia comes up, and I'll just be completely honest, whenever Celestia comes up, like I'm always like, oh, Celestia, but like I don't always fully like grasp the idea of Celestia. I see like this thing in the distance that looks like Celestia, and I'm like, oh, Celestia, you know? I understand like how Vanessa felt about Celestia. You know, that was one of the first times I was truly like, oh my God, Celestia. But like it's always interesting to hear this type of stuff, especially from stuff I've already heard from before.
That back when the primordial one ruled over a single unified civilization, no gods walked the earth. That's right, no gods, none, nada. But Paimon responds to this claim, saying that when gods walked the earth is as far back as history goes into that. There is no time before gods walked the earth, right? This suggests that the time when no gods walked the earth is a time that Celestia doesn't want anyone to know about, which means it was probably the unified civilization. But this whole no gods thing doesn't mean that there weren't any magical immortal beings hanging out with the humans. It just means that these beings were not considered gods. They were not objects of worship. That was something reserved exclusively for the primordial one, right?
So they could have been super, super powerful. They just weren't like bowed down to and like seen as gods.
These beings probably went by an entirely different label, like maybe Seelies. Because, see, we know that Seelies were angelic-like spirits that guided the human savages, meaning they existed when humanity was quite young, and because our only known survivor of the Seelies is the goddess of flowers, we can assume that it's possible for Seelies to be revered as gods. They just weren't. Now, we'll come back to this idea a little bit later, but for now, I want to point out that the only two civilizations known to be ones without gods or without the recognition of gods are Enkanomiya and Khaenri'ah, both of whom are underground, and according to Dainsleif, they both share architectural similarities, which makes you wonder if Khaenri'ah is also an offshoot of the original unified civilization. If it is, it might mean that Khaenri'ah believes in more of a monotheistic god and does not believe in a bunch of polytheistic gods, right?
Okay.
Dainsleif's distaste for the Archons and gods may be because he doesn't even believe that they should be worshipped since they are not the primordial one and therefore not actually a god.
I can't wait to see Dainsleif again, by the way, because I feel like Dainsleif is such a good, he's like the lore dropper. Drops in, gives some lore, and then bye-bye.
And this might actually be why Khaenri'ah and Dainsleif have a bone to pick with Celestia. They may, in fact, suspect that Celestia has an alien running the show. Now remember,
that would be insane as well, though. And again, it would be very much like if Dainsleif felt that way. If Dainsleif felt like he couldn't prove it yet, Dainsleif would not say that to us, right? Dainsleif would not say that yet. I feel like Dainsleif has said emotional stuff to us before, but I don't think Dainsleif's the type of person to put a worrying thought in people's heads if it's not necessary yet, is what I'd say.
Enjo is searching for proof that Celestia came from beyond this world, specifically through the means of the book Before Sun and Moon. This book is the same one that got Orobashi sentenced to death by Celestia just for reading it, which suggests that its contents were never altered by Irminsul. And in this specific book, it says that at one point, the primordial one, who should by all accounts be native to this world to some degree, if our theories are correct, was challenged by the Second Throne, also known as the Second Who Came, but came from where?
But came from where exactly?
This challenge resulted in a cataclysmic war that caused the heavens to fall and the earth to split open, and yet no one knows how this war ended. Although I do have my suspicions. See, in the Traveler's character card, the literal translation reads, "Your homeland has been destroyed. All of the buildings have been reduced to dust. You are originally the one who should own your own world and embrace the people within. But as the last descendant of a subjugated civilization, please do not lament the lost moments."
Holy hell.
So now we have a subjugated civilization, a traveler who's supposed to be an alien but actually has really deep connections to Teyvat's.
Wait, so the idea that it's like, hey, don't be upset, even though you are again, what here we say
your own world and embrace the people within.
You are the one
as
that should
descendant of a subjugated civilization. Please do not lament the lost moments. So now we have a subjugated civilization.
So is the civilization, is the destroyed nation referred to Khaenri'ah in that sense? Then is that what we're getting at? I keep skipping back to the wrong one.
Although I do have my suspicions. See, in the Traveler's character card,
the
literal translation...
I wanted to make sure I heard that part,
We have a subjugated civilization, a traveler who's supposed to be an alien, but actually has really deep connections to Teyvat's original...
And if what we learned last time is true, and I think it is true because it's the same for all wars, is that during the war, there is documents and things that are written by people who are more adjacent to the war. Occasionally you'll get someone who's fighting in a war being I did this today, I did that today. Someone who survives the war might write it as well. But generally during a war, it's kind of difficult to have people who are on the battlefield seeing everything firsthand to be the ones who write things, because they're not thinking about writing stuff, right? Now, you might have a poet from the side, we talked about this last week as well. There was a rebellion in Ireland, my home country, where a lot of the documents come from before and come from afterwards, but during is always very hard to get some documents out of, which would make a lot of sense. And a lot of it comes from poets. There was a poet who fought in the rebellion in 1916 who wrote a poem beforehand that's used as a historical document. He talked about how the streets would be red with the blood of the people they're fighting against and all this stuff. While afterwards you had poems from famous poets being this terrible thing has changed the world forever. It's changed Ireland forever. And that's where we get our information from as well. It's really interesting to see that type, even though it's not as long as like, this is like, this is hundreds and hundreds of years, but you get what I'm saying.
Functions, and a mysterious entity that went to war with heaven, and it's said to have come from beyond this world, or at least suspected of it. And then we have the Abyss Twin who wants to see the return of their homeland, which has been destroyed, and I don't know, these things seem to line up a little too well. Now, if you haven't pieced it together yourself yet, I am indeed suggesting that the Traveler, and actually both twins, are from the original unified civilization.
Right.
Only, instead of falling underground, they escaped Tivat entirely, only to circle back around to it around the time of the Khaenri'ah Cataclysm, just in time to kick off the events of the main game. Now, during this time, it's probable that the Second Throne successfully took control of Tivat. This includes control over Irminsul. And this is where I want to circle back to the other key feature of the Descenders, the fact that Irminsul seemingly does not record any information regarding them. I think this is only partly true. We don't need to look any further than the Abyss Twin to notice that something is very odd here.
Look at this,
See,
by the way.
nature of being twins, Ether and Lumine have to come from the same origins. One cannot be from Tivat while the other isn't, unless they are not twins at all.
That's the thing. I don't have to explain what twins are to anybody. You know what I mean? I don't think I have to do that.
That is a pretty valid theory
at all.
in and of itself.
And I'm just saying as well, like, this is like, and by that sense, I know that sounds like I'm saying, I don't have to explain to you guys, like I'm explaining you to the Lord, like Ashikai's explaining to me, you guys already understand this. This is basically like Ashikai on one side of my ear and you guys on the other side waiting for the information to come back out and explain it back to me again. But like, I don't think we have to talk about, I should say, not explain. I know I shouldn't have to talk about the idea of them being twins.
But it's one I do not want to entertain for this video as it goes like a totally different route, okay? For the purpose of this video, we are assuming the fact that they are twins is correct. Now, notice what Nahida says about the Abyss Twin, that they suddenly appeared in Khaenri'ah and traveled for a time, then appear to have vanished as if their fate was being forcibly obscured. If the Abyss Twin was like a normal Tevat being, then there would have been records prior to their random appearance in Khaenri'ah. But there aren't any records of that nature that we know of. I feel like Nahida would have said something a little bit different if those records existed at all. So here's the big thing. In the previous video, I made the case for Irminsul being a bit like the Akasha in that it doesn't decree fate, it only predicts fate, which it then displays in the sky in the form of constellations. But note that Irminsul would only be able to predict one's fate if it was also able to record data about them. So here's a fun fact for you.
Now, the idea of like the constellations and things, I guess, like, I wonder if this is going to come back to the theories about the sky being a lie.
Prior to touching the statue of Seven in Mondstadt, the Traveler did not have a constellation at all. So not only did tapping into the ley lines give the Traveler access to the elements, it also gave them a constellation.
Holy hell! I didn't know that at all. So they weren't connected. They were outside that theory of the sky is a lie, by the way. Not even in it.
Mona, being an astrologist, uses constellations to predict things, right? Well, according to her voice lines, she knows that the Traveler is not of this world, and she therefore cannot give us an astrological reading. But in other places, like during her story quest, she still manages to somehow predict our movements using astrology, which is odd. If we were completely unrecorded by
Sorry.
she wouldn't be able to predict anything at all. We'd just be a big blank space. She also can't find anything in regards to Paimon, which is also kind of odd.
Yeah, especially since Paimon also is connected to the Irminsul thing, because she forgot as well. You know, she has no memory of Rukkhadevata, or she also forgot at the time about Scaramouche.
In Chapter 3, Act 5, Paimon's memory was tampered with just like everyone else's, save for the Traveler, which means that Paimon should be of this world, right? But she doesn't seem to have a constellation, while the Traveler does have a constellation, yet the Traveler's mind cannot be tampered with. The only other person we know of that Mona cannot read the constellation of is Venti. And he's a god, so I guess this kind of makes sense, but...
And she probably didn't attempt to make a reading of the Raiden Shogun, you know what I mean? Like, she probably didn't attempt that yet.
Venti does have a constellation, like the Traveler, but he also seems to be able to have his memory tampered with, like Paimon. Well, I want to go back to an analogy I used in the previous video when I compared Irminsul to a computer or a cloud server, because I think it kind of resolves the issue around what Irminsul seems to record and what it doesn't. I just want to start by saying I think Irminsul actually records everything indiscriminately. If it's within reach of the ley lines, Irminsul can and does record it. But I also think that the twins, having come from a destroyed civilization, were also deleted from Irminsul's memory. So when they first arrived into that, Irminsul had no data on them and had to accrue it slowly over time. It also
So it's like relearning them? That would be pretty
wouldn't
interesting.
know how to store or reference those records, seeing as it thought of these twins as unknown entities, so it didn't really have a good label for them. But when the Traveler made contact with the Statue of Seven, they basically logged into their user account, and all of their accumulated session data was then assigned to them, allowing Irminsul to give them a constellation. However, given that the Traveler's user account is literally ancient and belonging to data that should have been long since deleted, it's possible that Celestia has marked any record referencing the original civilization as classified, even to the avatar of Irminsul herself. Now remember, Orobashi was sentenced to death for reading a book about the original unified civilization. Celestia does not want anyone to know about this. This restricted access gives the impression that there are no records about Descenders when there actually should be, and is.
So like it's restricting even from Irminsul?
Likewise,
is that what we're saying?
Gods probably have all of their information under slightly different restricted access because they're, gods, archons, so that makes sense. But where does that actually leave us? This section title seems like quite a leap, I know, but stick with me, it is tinfoil hat time. If the primordial one is considered God, then its four shades should be the archangels like Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel, right? Angels were organized into choirs, meaning an archangel had a higher rank than a regular angel. Now, according to the staff of the Scarlet Sands, the primordial one created night and day, which was represented by a sun and 3 moons. The 3 moons likely being the 3 moon sisters we know of as Arya, Sonnet, and Canon, who are closely tied to the Seelies. The Seelies are known to have been once beautiful pale beings tasked with teaching and guiding early humans, which easily makes them candidates for something like a guardian angel, or at least a lower ranked angel. Plus, their regressed forms are based on a sea slug, commonly known of as a sea angel, so there's that.
Me falling into the water? I better follow the Seelie.
During these early days in the unified civilization, we know that no gods walked the earth, which would make sense because angels are not supposed to be gods. They're servants of God. But angels are also closely related to demons, who, depending on the text, are all actually angels who fell from grace. Coincidentally, those labeled gods in Genshin are actually called demon gods in Chinese.
Look at that, look at the range chocobo.
They bear the names of demons from the Ars Goetia's Lesser Key of Solomon.
There's such a connection to, like 100%, like such a connection to demons, right, in the naming of characters in this game too.
Among those names is Paimon. Paimon is kind of unique because within the game of Genshin, she behaves and looks an awful lot like how Seelies do in Legends, pale and silver like the moon, flies at the speed of a Seelie, likes to sing, guides a traveler, loves treasure, and she has moons and stars throughout her entire design, right? But Paimon in the Ars Goetia is most notable for their absolute loyalty to Lucifer. And who is Genshin's Paimon most loyal to? The Traveler.
Oh my god,
maybe
no way.
You know this, maybe you don't. But Lucifer's name literally means light bringer or morning star. And both of the twins have a golden light-based power originally. They also have wings like angels supposedly do, decorated with the Primo Gem star, which is a symbol of the primordial one, or at least it's supposed to represent him because the Primo in Primo Gem is actually supposed to be primordial, which, by the way...
It is? I thought it was just like a primo, like it's a primo deal. That actually makes a lot more sense. That makes way more sense.
The name of the game in Chinese, the primordial god or the original god, right? All of these things are connected here. Now we know the Traveler is also called the Morning Star on multiple occasions, which suggests that the Abyss Twin might be the Evening Star, which is fitting since these two stars are technically the exact same star in the sky, hence twins. The twins also refer to themselves as literal stars, which is funny because in a lot of Abrahamic theology, it's believed that angels are actually considered stars in the sky, whereas archons are like the planets. And note, despite being one of God's most beloved angels, Lucifer was thought to have been the angel who attempted to place their throne above God's, which is what got them cast out of heaven in the first place. Although this seems to be the case only in texts that consider the name Lucifer to be synonymous with Satan, but that's again another investigation for another day. But going back to Enkanomiya and the unified civilization, I want to point out a series of achievements. One of them references Kairos, another Phosphoros, and the other Hesperus. Kairos is obviously referencing the god of time, a shade of the primordial one, so, like an archangel. But Phosphorus and Hesperus, those happen to be two alternate names for Lucifer. The point here that I'm trying to make is that this dualistic...
Can I say, I'm sorry for getting sidetracked, but this isn't, first of all, this is crazy that the idea, like, I actually kind of like the theory a little bit, even though it's kind of sad, the idea that, like, that we could be, like, the representation of, like, Satan himself, just, like, forgot about it, I guess, or maybe, like, we have a different idea of, like, or maybe it's not always just, like, black and white, and, like, Paimon is, like, someone who's always at our side. So I want to say that before I say this, because I don't want to make it seem like I'm just getting sidetracked only, because I wanted to say the Lumine as a character is always serving.
Nature of Lucifer as the light bringer and the night bringer, the good angel and the evil angel. It seems to be something embodied by the twins and the paths that they chose.
Oh my god, this.
In light of all this, I can only conclude that the twins are not only beings that belong to Tevat, but are in fact angels from the primordial era. Specifically, the embodiment of Lucifer, entities that would descend from the sky like the envoys of heaven described in the Tiara artifact sets, and who would possess a level of authority within Irminsul systems that are unavailable to gods even of Nahida's rank. It's possible, too, that due to the passage of time, that the traveler has some large gaps in their memory, and that they must travel through Tevat just like their twin did in order to not only recover their memories, but also their original powers.
Because Lumine did go on a journey.
The Abyss Twin also knows everything and is siding with the Abyss Order in order to resurrect their destroyed homeland while also destroying the Second Throne in the process. After all, the Traveler's character card outright states that they are the ones who should own their own world and take care of the people within it, and that they will ascend to the seat of God. I can't help but wonder if the twins were originally heirs to the Throne of Fanes, if they were supposed to inherit the earth but were interrupted and cast out by the Second Throne.
And are we saying that, like, the woman at the start is a depiction of the Second Throne? Is that what we're saying?
Being mentioned casually alongside the god of time Kairos, who we know to be a shade of the primordial one, also makes me wonder if Kairos herself isn't pulling strings in the background, trying to assist the rightful heirs in obtaining their rightful place. Kairos is brought up time and time again, and I just can't help but think that maybe Kairos was one of the Moon Sisters. And the Moon Sisters loved the Morning Stars just as much as they loved each other, like they were family. And those Morning Stars should be Lucifer, it should be the twins, and those same Morning Stars were said to have survived
the two Morning Stars are like this as well, yeah.
Destroyed not only the Moon Sisters.
I always forget about the depiction because it's been so long ago, right? It's been so long ago since we saw that.
And I think we're good to leave it there for now. That concludes most of my thoughts on the Descenders, but there are still a lot of loose ends to tie up as a result of Part 1 and Part 2. Earlier, I likened the Seelis to angels and the demon gods to fallen angels, or demons, or both. We're going to investigate this train of thought in great detail in Part 3, and the final destination of that train will be the proposed identity of the God of Time. I'm certain you will not want to miss that, but that'll do it for me today, guys. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. In the meantime, I just want to say thank you to every one of you who watched this video, and a very special thank you to every single one of my members who helps make this video possible. Thank you.
You have a lot of members, and much. You can tell just how quality this stuff is. Every one of you
who watched this video all the way to the end, you guys are absolutely the best of the best. I will be back soon with Part 3, so until then, take care, guys. I am off to the Abyss to fetch another bucket of forbidden knowledge, so, don't wait up.
Again, just like an unbelievably well-presented video again. from AShikai. Whenever I see their videos, they're always like really well presented. One thing I will say about it, like that I really like again, I'm not gonna obviously like go through everything again because obviously this is like a separate video from like their own reacts video, I guess, as well. But I really do want to say like the idea that Paimon and us, like we are Lucifer, like the twins, like the good angel, the bad angel, like we have descended from this planet. And again, like the depictions all are there. The morning star is there. The idea of us descending is there, right? And then I guess the idea would be then like the second throne or whatever is like who I thought was Istaroth. But again, like this is all theories, of course. It's not exactly, factual information all the time. But this is all like the idea of like a theory, I suppose. We saw as well like the idea of that, like that there was no consolation for us before we came here to show that we truly weren't a part of this place. But Lumine, as was said here, like is not, how do I say, is like a part of Teyvat, but we're not, which is always like a really interesting concept to me in general, because again, like it's two twins who came from the same place, who are twins, having to, I guess, like, both go on two separate journeys. And I wonder if it is that our character is following, and we know it as well, like we talked to Lumine before, and Lumine was talking about ending your journey or completing your journey. I will see you at the end of the journey or something along those lines. Am I right in saying that? I think it is like that is the concept. Again, like I'm just like trying to piece things together because I do think it's really interesting. So I do wonder if it is like a case that like that she has already come to the end of her journey. She's realized all of our memories. She's realized all of this, and she's waiting for us to realize our memories or to remember all of our stuff, or to like, I guess, allocate all the information we need about Teyvat before we get to the end of this journey, so we can truly understand the world. Like maybe she did. Maybe fill out our constellation, fill out all of our like figuratively, obviously not like literally fill out our constellation. But Ashikai is always very good at this stuff. I love the way Ashikai brought up the idea of like I guess like the basic knowledge of like what we know about them descending from this world, about our character of the traveler, or in our case Wander, being like the true, what was the way she phrased it? The true like owner of the world. Is that what? Let me actually see here. I'll see exactly how it was phrased here, because it was a subjugated civilization is what it was called. Yeah, so a subjugated civilization. But the way it was directly in the traveler's story was talking to the traveler about what you are as the traveler, right? About the traveler. Let me read it here. I'll read it here again. Your homeland has been destroyed and all the buildings have been reduced to dust. You originally were one that should own your own world and embrace the people within it, but the last descendant of the subjugated civilization. Please not lament the lost memories. So are we saying that it was subjugated by the second throne? And now the concept is that Lumine knows about this, and maybe Lumine is wanting to like take revenge upon this for what happened to Khaenri'ah, and she like has this full knowledge in her head of all this world, because we know that Lumine has been like on a very similar journey to us. I think we can see that through the Aranara missions as well. We know that like almost like in many places that we've touched, many places that we've gone to, Lumine has been there. Like I mean, like the chasm is probably a perfect example of this as well. Lumine has been there. Lumine has touched. I think he said, I believe she did. Or even like when we went to the places with Danes left, Lumine has been there. We saw a flower that was touched by Lumine. Lumine is 100% aware of us, and also like I think maybe spiritually watching over us, or maybe figuratively, because we could probably sense her it sometimes too. I do think also at the same time that like the reason we can't sense her sometimes, even though she might be watching over us like literally, is because like at big moments in our lives that she might be watching over us, we go through a lot of hardship, and I imagine that it would be hard to sense your sister watching you from a distance when you are fighting a god, for example, or fighting like the water god like Osiris or something like that. So like maybe she is like watching over us in some case, in that case, I guess. The idea of like Paimon and the Seelie stuff, like it's not like something that like confuses me completely, because I think it is like one of those things that is a theory about like, is Paimon like what is Paimon? And we have these theories all the time because people talk about Paimon as like as a god. Maybe Paimon is the being from the start of the game. I like to think that like the best way I can depict Paimon until we get to the idea of who she actually is and what she is that like no matter what she is, Paimon is Paimon, and I'll always love Paimon. I do also like that in like, yeah, they said like that there no gods walk the earth in the times when the land belonged to, in before Sun and Moon, belonged to a whole single civilization. And the idea that like the primordial one is an alien, but if they are an alien, that we are also aliens, or the people that came to Earth are aliens because they are built in the image of that alien. There's a lot here. There is a lot here. Definitely, like, there's a lot here. And the idea as well that, like, I love, again, the way AShikai explains these things. The idea that the Irminsul tree is not this, like, all-knowing great thing. And, like, in some cases, it could possibly be tricked as well. And maybe, like, the Celestia doesn't want the Irminsul tree, and maybe not just the Irminsul tree, but people to know the information that we are probably going to be gathering as time goes on, and maybe the information that Lumine has gathered as well. They noted as well that the gods don't have this like reading that from Mona. The gods don't have this reading, but they do have a but she hasn't tried in all the gods. She hasn't tried everything in all the gods. I think most of all, like one of the like basic understandings all just started off the video. I'm sorry if I'm being a bit disjointed here, but the idea of like, yes, we could be Lucifer. Yes, we could be a fallen angel. I think that's one of the most popular theories because I've heard like this before, like, you know, in passing from comments or something like that, the idea of a fallen angel. And I really feel like it is like, you know, if a descender or a fallen angel or something like that, because that what is like a demon in some cases, it's a fallen angel, an archangel. And if we are something like that and we don't know it yet, I think it's going to be a really cool thing to find that out as we're going forward in this game. I think it's going to be really interesting to find out how we react to it when we find out more stuff about ourselves. We've just gotten to Sumeru and they had that big realization, you are a descender. And it's like, a descender? Oh my God. But again, it makes sense because we did descend onto this area in different ways. We are both stars. We are depicted as stars. We were drawn as stars at the beginning as well. Sorry if I'm so disjointed about this, guys. I just find a lot of this stuff very interesting. I can't wait to talk to Dainsliff again. This is 3.2, so obviously we're in 3.3 right now. So it's going to be very interesting. We're going to be learning more about the lore as time goes on as well. So the concept is that we are a descender, but it's possible that our sister could or could not also, or our sister isn't a descender. Now, maybe we can talk about this as well, because like the idea that like we are the only known ascender, but for some reason our sister is not depicted as a descender because she's actually known to this world, and I wonder if it is because she's collected all of her knowledge about. I don't know. We'll definitely like talk about more of this as it's going forward. It's a very interesting video. It's a very well put together video, as well, usually with AShikai. They did a fantastic job with this. I love the theory of the Lucifer thing, even though like in the end it might not be true. Like as I said, Paimon is Paimon. I will always love Paimon. I'll always love our character as well. I love the idea that like you know, such a simple thing to happen in an event with Mona trying to read people's, you know, constellations and stuff like this, because it does make sense that the constellations would be a big deal, especially since we have this idea of the stars not being real. I feel like I'm talking like crazy a bit right now. Do you guys do this too when you're talking about theories? Because I feel like I'm a madman. I feel like does this make sense, you guys, for talking about theories? I feel like I'm equally like right now the smartest I've ever been and the dumbest I've ever been at the same time, talking about all these theories and whatnot. I don't know. I think it is all interesting to note.
says that Khaenri'ah sent a delegation to Khaenri'ah in order to find proof that Celestia came from beyond this world.
To end the discussion, I know there's a lot more, and you guys can talk to me about it in the comment section. We'll have a chat about it. But there's also the conversation about like what Enjo said, that like, you know, that they came here to prove that Celestia was beyond this world, and maybe Celestia does have a lot more power than we thought. You know, maybe Celestia is trying to keep some information from us. But I'll move on for now, guys, and I hope you guys enjoyed this part of the video, because the next one, thank you so much, by the way, for sending Azadrak. I find the AShikai videos very interesting. They're always like very, very like it's very cool to explore this type of stuff. It really is. Yeah. Thank you so much for sending in. The next video is sent in by Kelty Surret, and it is a Kave's voice actor Genshin playthrough highlights. Let's check it out.
Let's build a team of Kave's most favorite people ever. Let's get Sainari.
Yes.
We'll get Kale.
Yes.
We'll get Faruzan. These are all of Kave's favorite people. Sino. Yeah, he's probably.
Don't you
the favorite.
dare.
Oh, this guy? You want this guy in? Fine. I suppose I can. You happy now? This jabroni here? Just looking at his dumb little notes. Maybe play some of the events. Maybe do a bit of. Will you shut up?
Scholars in the academia are prime examples.
I swear to God.
Where's my key? Not again.
The
I'm
laugh
so
track.
glad that they kept that take, because I did a take that was completely non-verbal, where I just went, oh. And like, that's still funny, but like, I feel like a lot of people wouldn't understand that he was looking for his keys, because not many people might know the lore. So I was like, what if I just have him like mumble, wait, where's my keys? And the not again was just something I improvised.
That's cool. This is cool getting this type of information. That's why watching these voice
like,
actors is always fun. Getting this type of info as well.
Old man Kave.
Oh, Hatham, where did you put my Batman glass? I left it right here. I can't have my coffee without my Batman glass, I'll Hatham.
He is kind of an old soul, isn't he, though,
I don't
Kabe?
see it. Oh, I forgot to put on my glasses. Oh, wait, no, where are my glasses? Oh, you took them from me again, didn't you?
Honestly surprised people haven't asked me about, like, what do you think about their relationship? I was expecting a billion people to ask about that.
It sounds like you want people to ask.
So tell us then? No, I don't think I will. I feel like if I say anything, people are gonna think I'm like making it canon. Then people in suits are gonna come into my house and break my legs. Okay, look, here's all I'll say. I think that
It feels like he's about to cross the line into like something that
for a very long time.
is hard to step
Interpret that
into.
however you wish. That's, I think, the most that I'll say about it. Whatever nature the relationship takes, you know, whatever shape it may take, I think they're basically inseparable. Okay, everything I've just said is my own opinion and does not represent the views of any of the companies that I am associated with. It is my own thing. It is not canon. It is just what I am saying that what I believe in.
This is so funny because this was my interpretation of like the Genshin audience before I played Genshin, and I thought they were gonna be a lot crazier with the stuff. But they do like a lot. I guess it's just my audience. They do let you like you give your opinion on like character ships and stuff like this.
Based on my knowledge of the character and the story, and my own personal beliefs. Okay, all right. Please do not break my legs. I'm very fond of them.
One moment, please, you two. It appears this is your first time visiting Sumeru City.
What a dandy voice this man has.
The Akasha Terminal.
I'm guessing this is Google. It
It
is Google! Rosie Rodeo. Akasha, show me single mothers near me. Akasha, play
Jesus.
Seinfeld laugh track. They found a god, just chilling. Is that what happened? Is Paimon literally Googling, how do I meet God? We want to see the face of God. Can you help us?
Sure. That's quite the trip, though. I'll carry you. No, that would be too much.
Oh, Princess Carrie. Can we also be carried?
But of course.
Excellent.
But of
So
course,
you guys are
yeah.
getting super
Can I be carried?
excited.
This is
Better not
very
be,
relatable.
Better not be a Mr. Man coming up in these parts. What is this? What is this nonsense here? 50 or 500,000?
Huh? What is this? Some kind of joke?
I chose your
Yes.
options, so I chose this option with the laugh.
I don't have anything to say to you academia people about that. I think this conversation has reached its end.
But enough talk. Have at you.
Not just yet. This man is a fraud.
Everyone cheering in the audience. Look. What is this? I know it's Donkey Kong. This goes on for a while.
Holy shit, chat. Holy shit.
Is this like a
Who are
stream
you
alert?
supposed to be?
You again? Deranged academia lunatic. Yes, It's me again. I already warned you that if you weren't willing to
Look at the chat. Look at the chat.
comfortable for you.
Hey, look, it's me. I'm the coolest character in this entire patch.
This group has been boasting all around that they can provide information on a certain item as a means of luring people into their territory.
So, your first introduction to Alhaitham is literally him going up to you and being like, hey, these guys ain't shit. Their vibes are whack.
Yep, 100%.
Until they have hard evidence that you want to purchase said item. Then they use that to squeeze you for all the more you're worth.
Hey, I don't think he's actuallying them. He's just like, hey, this guy's trying to get your car's extended warranty.
Yeah, he's a hero. He's a hero. This is such a great introduction for Alhaitham, by the way.
Yeah, Paimon, he literally came in and hathed all over the place.
All right. Goodbye.
Just like that?
Hold your horses! We still have something to ask you about!
No. I want to go home and play Xbox. Kaveh, get off the Xbox. It's my turn to play. Marak is the Xbox. I need to play Super Monkey Ball right now. I've almost beaten all the master levels. I need to get all those bananas.
This is what you've been looking for.
Holy shit, that's one big weed rock, Alhaitham. Oh god, it's him again.
There's a lot of chaos in this. Look at this is so interesting having Alhaitham talk to
just baked beans.
The actual
beans.
Kaveh voice actor.
Did you get the beans, traveler? Can we absorb Alhaitham? Powerful question. I'm not used to hearing Alhaitham be so cooperative. I'm like so used to him just being an asshole. Yeah, he knows perfectly well how to be likable. He's had a Snickers.
After all, there's no harm in understanding what it is.
He's not hangry anymore. I keep telling people the next class, the next weapon that they should add in Genshin is just gun. And patch Kaveh so his weapon becomes gun. He just pulls out a Glock. Go Genshin gun. Give Kaveh a Glock. I remember auditioning for
That should be the next update.
But obviously I was... my take was too powerful. I was like, yeah, it's me, Mika. I'm a member of the Scouts. Mika of the Knights of Favonius, but aggressive. Wait, what's his
I cannot imagine Mika talking like
his,
this.
His letter and read it with that voice. I hope my suddenly sending you a letter like
I actually
this
haven't
doesn't
met Mika
disturb you,
yet.
Captain Honorary Knight. Today is my birthday, and in the words of the Surveyor Corps, I've reached another
The image in the background I just realized.
The officers often say, as the years of service pass, knights must surpass themselves of years past. Brother, I've received a lot of positive feedback from my superiors recently, so I believe I fulfilled that requirement. Though thinking back carefully, the reason I've been receiving so much recognition is entirely due to your guidance and encouragement. Thank you for all the help you've given me lately, brother. It's a pity I can't invite you to celebrate
definitely a
together
Hulk
as
Hogan
I'm on
voice.
field duty lately, so I prepared 2 of my favorite signature dishes. I would be really glad if they're to your liking. When I'm back in Mondstadt, I'd be sure to thank you in person with the super slime jam!
Jesus Christ.
Ban all theater kids? Well, goodbye, everybody.
No.
I'm just kidding. Automod is legit, like, blocking every single variant of Lamau. Laughing my trousers off. I do love how they're basically like, yeah, we're overthrowing the government of this entire region. I wish that, Dottore was, like, fightable, so that I could bring Gaming into the fight, and then, have it be gamers versus gaming. It's him, the gamer.
I'm all for any use of Gaming.
Holy shit. Good job, Chad. Dottore gives off Cool Ranch Doritos while Baiju is like sour cream Doritos. So true, chat member. Who's the cheese Doritos? Kaveh's cheese Doritos? A lot of votes for Child. What determines this? I have no fucking
Wait, so
idea.
Child would be cheese
Ben's a
Doritos.
huge Nagito.
Cool Ranch, which is like the basic one, right? The cool one. Excuse me, the cool one. Who would be Cool Ranch? I feel like it would have to. I think like I'm getting like if we're getting blue vibes, right? Just bluish vibes of Cool Ranch. Who did I can't believe I'm racking my brain to try and think of this. I know D. Luke is like the spicy chili Watsits. I know that. Yeah. And I know like Kaya is like a Walker's prawn cocktail.
Dan, everything I'm doing is for the sake of hope.
Wait, is that the same voice actor?
I'm fucking crazy, Hajime. I'm gonna do what's called a pro gamer move, all for the sake of hope.
Thankfully, I've had
Or is it just
my
like a
place to myself
fan?
recently. It's been nice and quiet.
Kave wasn't even mentioned. He was like mildly implied.
The only thing you're doing is being annoying.
Oh!
Anyway.
What is this stream element thing?
Morbius!
What?
No,
here's what's gonna happen.
no, that scene was
Any of you watched the
harrowing.
film Morbius?
I feel really angry now.
Yes! Kill!
It's so funny as well when you see different people's ideas of what's
meet up
happening.
with
Because
the
for me, like when
Discord
those scenes are
homies
happening, I'm
for
like
the first
nearly in
time
tears.
IRL. Killing is
It's always
my
interesting to see
forte.
the way people play different games differently.
I've been scanning.
Come!
Jesus. Traveler broke every bone in his body. This is like Amber Alert. We're fighting God. Does anybody have any tips?
Are you done with your tricks?
No.
It seems that like this guy's
put it another way?
YouTube is very or his stream is very much
Making
like,
it sound like I
you know,
The girls
hey,
are
I'm
fighting.
in the game. Let's have a bit of
I
fun.
just love how this man overthrew an entire conspiracy just so he wouldn't have to do extra work.
I seem to have taken both keys when I left the house. Oh well.
Is this actually part of the stream that we cheers?
Kave reference. After so many streams, we finally got here.
Just put down that worthless book and tell me what happened in the academia.
Oh my god.
Okay.
The freaking bickering, the best scene in the history of video games.
Smiley face.
Thank you, Creative Jelly.
Thank you. Thank you.
This is the most I've seen in any of the streams so far.
Do you have any idea how difficult it is to find a physical book like this in Sumeru?
It doesn't matter. It's probably just another thing that you used your
I freaking
authority
love
to
this
get your
scene.
hands on anyway. Just put it aside. Listen, I came back today only to hear that the sages have disappeared.
So, recording for this was at this point I already knew that you know, obviously I knew that Nazi was playing Alhaitham, and that informed my reads so strongly when I first started recording, because it's like I knew that I was going to be with Nazi, and I knew that I was going to be playing off him.
That's
and,
actually
like,
really interesting.
During the process, you know, the director was giving me Nazi's lines, and he was just reading them to me, and then I was responding to that. But I would always picture Nazi's voice saying these lines, and that's what
love
helped a
getting
lot.
this insight
And I think
from
Nazi
voice
did the
actors. I love
same
behind the
thing
scenes stuff.
when he knew that I was playing Kave, and like that's why
That's
he
really
sounds
sweet.
he gives a little extra something
Really
something
sweet to
when
know.
Alhaitham's talking to Kave. So it was really fun. I also have vivid memories of people. I watched a lot of people play through the scene because I wanted to see how people were reacting to it. And so many people were like, wow, he sounds kind of, It's not the voice that I was expecting for Kave.
For real?
I was hoping he'd be a little bit higher up. He sounds a bit too deep.
I think it's
and I was like,
perfect.
oh, okay. But then Doubter's in shambles, and who's laughing now? You fucking worms. No, I'm just kidding.
No,
People
I
are
think it's
free
perfect.
to
I do think it's perfect.
to think of my voice as whatever it is that they want. I'm just here to do my job, and if people enjoy it, great. If people don't enjoy it, that's okay too.
Oh, it just went straight into another video. Yeah, that's fun to see. That's really fun to see. Thank you so much for sending in. Yeah, so that video was really cool. The idea of like, I guess, watching a streamer again, sometimes like it's like, you know, you want to kind of let them play off their things, you don't want to like over saturate what they're saying, but I really do like the idea of I guess, a creator playing as their own character and getting insight into that character as well. That's what's always really cool about that stuff, those type of streams. Yeah, it's really, really cool. Thank you so much for sending in, Kelty. Victoria, and it's Khaenri'ah will destroy Mondstadt Genshin Impact lore. I have not really heard this theory. I guess, like, maybe I might have heard it, like, adjacently to other theories. But let's check it out. It's a very, I think, you know, the last few videos today for the Roma Reacts is going to be very lore heavy, or at least the first few videos we watched maybe very lore heavy. But then again, we also just watched a Kave's VA playthrough, so there's also that as well. Let's check this out.
Did you know that Khaenri'ah is actually an underground nation? According to Albedo's character story 5, because Khaenri'ah was an underground nation, the lack of sunlight yields scarce flora and fauna. Thus, Khaenri'ah had to develop its own form of alchemy which focused on the creation of artificial life.
Albedo is such an important character, right? A character who, like, I feel like I don't talk about him as much as I used to, because, like, there's so many characters in Genshin, like, you kind of, like, have to, like, you know, like, I guess pace yourself sometimes, especially the way I'm playing. I'm not playing it year by year. I'm playing it, like, you know, in the space of a year, I suppose. But yeah, a lot more, like, important than maybe even, like, even I think. The creation of that flower in his hand there is probably, like, a perfect example of this. But, like, a character who, like, I feel like knows a lot, or like has a lot of like lore surrounding him.
This art of alchemy was known as Khaenri'ah, an art that Albedo's master and creator Reindatir was an expert in. Reindatir was an alchemist in Khaenri'ah whose research was considered the pinnacle of knowledge and alchemical prowess, which earned her the nickname Gold. Reindatir, aka Gold, prided herself in many things, but what she deemed were her miraculous creations, essentially her best works, were Durin and Albedo.
Can you imagine saying I created Durin and Albedo, by the way? But yeah, the creation of Albedo, by the way, is something that, like, again, excuse me, again, I feel like personally, just because of the way, like, you know, we go through Genshin, like, I would love to, like, go back and talk about Albedo more. And, like, this kind of just, like, triggered something into my brain where it's like, this character, has, like, a lot to him. I guess. I know I keep saying that, but like that's like I kind of want to go back and maybe like explore Albedo more.
The body and dragon spine belonged to a dragon created by the infamous Khaenri'ah alchemist Reindatir, also known as Gold. Its name was Durin, and during the Cataclysm, he terrorized Mondstadt until he was defeated by Barbados and Dvalin.
Go on,
His
Barbados.
Crash landed in
Barbados and Dvalin.
Centuries later, you can still see what appears to be his beating heart. But
so
how
sick.
Is this possible?
Absolutely sick.
Durin's blood may be composed of alkahest, a corrosive solvent that is poisonous to all things in Teyvat, hence how Dvalin's blood was corrupted in the beginning of Genshin's story. Durin's chemical composition involves materials that are alien to the world of Teyvat, according to the chunk of Erosiderite, which describes Gold's creations as having dark alien blood. Historically, things foreign to the world of Teyvat are...
Is that Descender... Aloy? I heard about Aloy being in like Genshin like a while back, but like obviously like, you know, they don't want to break their immersion too much, so she's not a part of the story, I don't think. Larkon literally can't cook. Muso who? Okay. I didn't realize the messaging at the bottom here.
Considerably more powerful than those which originate from it. An example of an extremely powerful foreign entity would be our Traveler, whom the Fatui classifies as a Descender, to indicate that 1, they are not from this world of Teyvat, and 2, they are not bound to the laws of this world. Either its protagonist's armor be
great.
or we should actually fear whatever descends from the skies. Another one of Gold's miraculous creations includes Albedo, a success story from Gold's primordial human project, a project in which she created synthetic humans. I'm sure most of us raise an eyebrow at Albedo's possible lack of a belly button and his cryptic line at the end of his story quest.
Well, before we get to that, but like Albedo painting is absolutely adorable, but also like I think for like I didn't predict that Albedo was going to be like a creation, but like I said in kind of jest, and then it became that. I was like, oh, Albedo is like so beautiful. He was created in a lab. But apparently that's like somewhat true. But also like when you look at Albedo, he's like so like perfect in like his actions, like in the way he like acts and stuff like it's like almost like, you know, like not perfect's a bad word, because I feel like that leaves that doesn't let him have a personality, because I feel like his personality is there, but I mean like he's very like calm in the way he speaks. He thinks about every word he says, you know, in that kind of way. And I think that's something that like is unique to Genshin as well, because not like a lot of characters in the game don't always do that.
If one day I lose control, destroy Mondstadt.
Jesus.
Destroy everything. Can I rely on you to stop me?
Much like Durin, if Albedo succumbs to the control of Reindatir, he could potentially control Alt-Delete Mondstadt and be
Control
completely
Alt-Delete
unaware of his
Mondstadt.
devastation. He is, however, aware that he has the power to destroy Mondstadt should his master command that of him, and relies that Traveler would be strong enough to defeat him should it ever come down to that.
Okay, Minslev. Paimon gets
Oh, this is presented very well.
What does this have to do with your Siri video today?
Well, isn't it strange that Gold would send not one, but two of her best alchemical creations to Mondstadt specifically? Speaking of being sent to Mondstadt, according to his vision story, Khaenri'ah Alberic was sent to Mondstadt as an agent of Khaenri'ah in order to serve their interests. In the same text, there's an important dilemma for Khaenri'ah in which he must choose between Khaenri'ah or Mondstadt, should a war start between them.
What do you guys think he's gonna choose though? Because for me, like I feel like it's one of those things where like maybe part of him feels like he would have to do this, but also at the same time, I think that like his heart will forever be in Mondstadt. You know what I mean? I adore Kai as a character though. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Like, the idea of like
indicate that Khaenri'ah is interested in waging war against Mondstadt. But
so what you're saying is, sorry for pausing again, you're saying is that like they sent 3 people to Mondstadt, 3 envoys to Mondstadt, and that kind of like is kind of like a good indication. Like one was there like literally to try and destroy things. It wasn't for Duval and Venti. The other one could destroy things at any moment with the Control-Alt-Delete, as this person said. Another one was Kaya. But I feel like Kaya has like, you know, just made a home here at the stage, you know, and in fairness, so has Albedo, you know.
What is Khaenri'ah trying to achieve by being the victor?
Look at this Lumine. Look at Lumine.
I'm Leafy Lore Irminsul, and I read the Genshin Impact lore so you don't have to. In today's video, we're going to explore topics such as the etymological analysis of Genshin's regions, in other words, real-life cultural influences, and how they're very specific to regions in Genshin.
Love it.
The night versus dawn symbolism in relation to Mondstadt and Khaenri'ah, and Mondstadt's relation to the ancient primordial civilization. All this will be done to determine Khaenri'ah's reasons for waging war against Mondstadt and the possible relationship between both nations. The real-life cultures and languages that are used as inspiration in Genshin Impact are very specific per fictional region. For example, Inazuma takes heavy inspiration from Japanese culture, specifically from the Edo period when the shogunate was established.
I love when creators like take this into account all the time. I know it's like a very like you guys always talk to me in the comment section about this. This is where it's inspired by. This is what it's inspired by, and it's always great to hear from you guys as well. I love like when like lore creators don't ignore this. AShikai is very good at this too, right? AShikai is very good at like taking things from the real world and implanting them in the lore videos.
Representing the Meiji Restoration
like look at this,
period, the era which came right after Edo. Li Yue takes inspiration from China, Sumeru from possibly a mix of Middle Eastern, South Asian, and North African influences, and Mondstadt from Germany. The linguistics of Khaenri'ah have been heavily rooted in Norse origin up until this point. Enter the Schwanenritter. The Schwanenritter were introduced in the Aranyaka quest series. I still haven't finished this quest.
I haven't finished it either.
Okay.
Don't worry.
I know. But the Schwanenritter were an order of knights from Khaenri'ah that were responsible for operating the ruling golems deployed from their homeland to Sumeru. At some point, they were attacked by creatures from the abyss and fought until their last. The term Schwanenritter is a German word for swan knight, which is a real-life medieval tale about a knight who rides in a swan-drawn boat and assists a damsel in distress, provided that she does not ask his name. This tale was later used in a 3-part romantic opera composed and written by Richard Wagner, the same man who composed The Ring Cycle, which is composed of 4 German-language epic music dramas based on Norse legendary sagas.
Okay.
Why is that so important?
Well, Genshin lore enthusiasts will recognize the names Alberic, Kai's surname,
yes,
and Rheingold, Reindatir, from Richard Wagner's works. Not to mention, one of the best NPCs in Mondstadt is named Wagner, probably a nod to the German composer.
Oh, so Paimon gets it. So basically, German terminology, which was mostly used for Mondstadt, is found in Khaenri'ah, which was mostly Norse.
Precisely.
Her face reminds you is what I think your guys' faces are whenever I'm like, oh, so what? Like when you explain some lore to me, I'm like, oh, so this is this and this is that, and you're like squinting a little bit. Yeah. Yes, Calvin.
Speaking of German, in order to examine night versus dawn symbolism in relation to Mondstadt and Khaenri'ah, we must first refer to our favorite princesses. In her fascination with fantasy,
NASA came out recently. NASA and every scientist in the world, they got together in one room, and they were like, they were trying to find a perfect character, and it kept coming up as like Fischl. It was crazy.
These stories and role-playing. Fischl, whose real name is Amy, bases her current persona off of a possibly fictional or possibly not fictional Princess Fischl, whose story can be found in these texts within Genshin Impact.
Yeah.
In the book Flowers of Princess Fischl, there is a curious line that reads, That said, the Nachtvorhang is itself the nemesis of Damurung anyway. Nachtvorhang can be translated as Night Realm, while Damurung stands for Dawn. The Night Realm is itself the nemesis of Dawn anyway.
Now, if this was 4 weeks ago, I would have said that, oh, it's just a story though. It's just a story, right? But I feel like now, because we know that like fairy tales, especially like in a version of Genesis with Vaughn, that like you can like use fairy tales and like old wives' tales as like maybe even like literal memories of the past.
Nachtvorhang and Damurung could be a representation of a battle between dark and light, two elements that are heavily speculated to appear in Genshin in the future. Night, or alternatively darkness, has been associated with sin, evil forces, and in some cases Khaenri'ah, while the dawn has been associated with light, with the most visible use of dawn being present in the Dawn Winery, which is conveniently located in Mondstadt. Since it does iterate
Oh, okay.
that
the war has already begun. It is just a continuation of past battles.
And while Flowers for Princess Fischl doesn't necessarily give definitive proof of an existing conflict between Khaenri'ah and Mondstadt, the imagery is certainly
Look at
there.
adorable.
Look no further than the Raugenwinder brothers, Diluc and Kaya.
That is legit so freaking cool. The idea that there could be like a symbolic nature between the two of them.
Before we cover Khaenri'ah's possible reasons for wanting to wage war against Mondstadt, we must...
If that is the case, like, I think that like it could end up having them like together towards the end or something like this, because again, obviously this is just a theory, but it's a really cool look at like the symbolic nature between the dark and the light.
First preface it with Mondstadt's relation to the ancient primordial civilization. For context, the primordial civilization existed way before our traveler's story. For extra context, feel free to check out my previous theory video, Why We Can't Trust Khaenri'ah, where I theorize that Khaenri'ah is a derivative of the primordial civilization, and what their ultimate plan is for revenge, but I digress.
Revenge.
According to the Byakuya collection, the primordial civilization consisted of Teyvat's first humans, and was ruled by the progenitor god, the Primordial One, and its 4 shining shades. One of those shining shades was a god named Istaroth, the shining shade of time and wind. In Mondstadt, you may have noticed 2 sundials, one on the
I want one of these little guys, by the way.
Island and one on the mainland, both of which Henry Morton believes are connected somehow according to the Time and Wind world quest. 2 quest items, the Ragged Notes and the Thick Notebook, insinuate that the Temple of Time and Wind was once where both Istaroth and Barbados were worshipped, until ironically, Istaroth was forgotten over time.
So the both, again, like, you know, this is stuff we've probably learned like in the past like several times, but like it's stuff that, you know, there's so much lore that like it gets over like so brushed over. So if we did learn like a lot of this before, I think we obviously did when it came to Venti and stuff like that. But like Venti to me is so weird that like whenever people talk about like this, because Venti is like, to me it's like a friend. Venti's like a friend. You know what I mean? So whenever I see Venti like depicted like this,
Notebook
it feels
that the Temple of
so
Time and Wind
weird
was once where both Istaroth and Barbados were
that
worshipped.
Venti was around, I guess, or I guess Barbados, right, was around. By the way, it's such a cool design. The same time as like someone like Istaroth. Crazy.
Istaroth was forgotten over time. This means that the worship of Istaroth, a god from the primordial era of Teyvat, thousands of years before the Archon War, was happening in tandem with the worship of the newly instated Animo Archon Barbados. Mondstadt memorializing the tradition of paying respects to a primordial god for as long as they could can mean that Mondstadt used to be home to part of the primordial civilization and were one of the few remnants to survive to modernity.
Okay, so kind of confused about that. Are they saying that like Mondstadt was one of the ones that survived in terms of like the calamity, or like, calamity is such a bad word for it, like the cataclysm? Is that what that's what we're talking about? Yeah.
They didn't get wiped by Celestia. Speaking of getting control alt-deleted by Celestia, the Tiaras and the Prayers artifact set might give us insight to these primordial civilizations. The Tiara of Frost could be a reference to the fall of Selvin Dagnir, the ancient civilization atop Dragonspine, a once verdant mountain that was permanently frozen by the presence of the Skyfrost Nail. It follows that each elemental tiara story could correspond with the story of an ancient civilization in that element's home region. Notably, Dendro and Animo are missing, with Animo possibly containing the story of Mondstadt's primordial history, or the civilization beneath Mondstadt.
What do you mean beneath Mondstadt?
Shadows on Tevat's map usually indicate places of ruins. Examples are Surumi Island, Fort Mume, South Tere, and above Narukami Island. So, what's underneath Cider Lake?
I did not even pick up on this whatsoever, by the way. I didn't pick up on this whatsoever, the idea of the shadows under the water. Like, that wasn't on my mind at all.
Primordial history, or the civilization beneath Mondstadt.
What do you mean beneath Mondstadt?
Shadows on Tevat's
I think
map
it's
usually
so
indicate
interesting.
places of ruins. Examples are Surumi Island, Fort Mume, South Tere, and above Narukami Island. So, what's underneath Cider
What
Lake?
the hell?
Paimon never thought of it like
Paimon-
that.
Never thought of it like that? Or what are you hiding from us, Paimon?
Anyways.
Yes. Anyways. So, we've identified that there's German linguistics present in Khaenri'ah whose terms
I truly
are
believe
predominantly
that
Norse. There's imagery to
Paimon is
indicate
just
the
Paimon
conflict between
sometimes. I
light
don't
and
know.
dark, or
Maybe
dawn and
is
night.
that controversial to say that in the end, I think that Paimon will have a deeper impact on the story. But I think that like there could be a possibility that like how do I say it? Like I think that she could be like all these theories that people are saying. But I also think at the end of the day, the quote that like should end the game, like after all the stuff that's happened, after every single horrible thing that happens to us, all the horrible things that happen to our friends, all the good things that have happened, and like let's say she finally gets revealed as like that god at the end of it, but we still realize like we love her. I think a perfect ending would be like Paimon like helping save the day, and then being like putting her hand in her chest and going, well, Paimon's Paimon. You know what I mean? Like that's like when we ask that question, I think it'd be perfect. I think it'd probably piss a lot of people off, like, but like I would love it. Like obviously we get an explanation of like who Paimon is, but then afterwards when we're talking to Paimon as like as ourselves as a friend, Paimon goes, well, Paimon's just Paimon, you know? And like I would cry, I would die.
And there's a possibility that Mondstadt is a nation that descends
I like
from
this
the
theory.
original
I do like this theory. It's fun.
civilization. Therefore, Khaenri'ah's intentions of waging war against Mondstadt could stem from their perception that Mondstadt
The video was
betrayed the
presented in
primordial
an interesting way, isn't it?
civilization. Or their intentions of waging war are in order to infiltrate the gateway of Celestia. The base of the Barbados statue in Mondstadt contains the words Gateway of Celestia in Tevatnian script. With the cataclysm not ending entirely well for Khaenri'ah due to being demolished by Celestia, it's natural for Khaenri'ah, alternatively the Abyss Order, to want to gain access to their enemy's territory with the purpose of launching a full-scale attack. My personal theory, though not...
Dainsleif is the type of guy though that like you know, you could have no doors in your house and somehow he'll still be in there. You know what I mean? It's like you could like build a cement like house, no windows, no doors, no access, and then like as soon as you build the house, you'll just hear like muffling from inside, like, something's not right here. And you're like, what the hell's that? It's like, how did you get in there, Dainsleif?
fully substantiated at this point in the story is that Khaenri'ah and Mondstadt were both one nation that split due to cultural and political differences. Khaenri'ah being adamant about existing without the jurisdiction of a god, and Mondstadt accepting to be controlled. If Khaenri'ah has a goal to reconquer and unify the lands they believe were stolen from the primordial civilizations by Celestia, then it's natural for them to also want to conquer Mondstadt. One last nail in this coffin of a theory lies in the name Khaenri'ah. Khaenri'ah is Arabic meaning wind betrayer. This is actually an etymological analysis that I've used in the...
That seems like it's like very on the nose. That seems like it's like, hey, yeah, we're gonna betray you. Wind betrayer.
One last nail in this coffin of a theory lies in the name Khaenri'ah. Khaenri'ah is Arabic meaning wind betrayer. This is actually
Betrayer
an
of
etymological
winds.
analysis that I've used in the past to theorize that Kaya, while being Khaenri'an, might also have Sumeru heritage, either due to Khaenri'an survivors fleeing to Sumeru or something else.
No, promote your shorts.
But that's a theory video for another day. If you like this video, please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video.
This was
I'm your Leafy Illustrator
incredibly
Ninja,
well
and I have the
presented.
Genshin Impact
Incredibly
games,
well
so you don't
presented.
have to.
You did a fantastic job, like more than a fantastic job. Really well done. Oh. Is that you and Dainsleif, or what's happening here? Who's like? I think that's it there. Yeah. Yeah. Just to talk about like my feelings on this. Because maybe like, I don't know how do I say it? Like maybe I'm like not like the best person to speak on this kind of theory sometimes. But I will say that like I do think that like I love hearing theories about this because it revives something in me that I haven't heard in a while. And usually then there's like an aspect to it, like where it's like, oh, the story's really cool here, like this, or like there's something like I didn't like bringing back up Albedo in my mind was a really cool thing there. I wonder if like it's always two things, right? And this is for any game with any beautiful lore in it. Like, you know what I mean? Dark Souls is where I come from. So I'm sorry if I use Dark Souls to talk about this because it's where I came from with like the lore discussions and stuff like that, and like where I came from. Like, because like the little thing about me that you don't know, like I used to sit in college with my friends who just started playing Dark Souls, and like I would like describe lore to them and have a discussion with lore to them. But one of the things that like, that I always try to stress with them is that like, and you guys stress to me too, is like lore is lore because, and it's fun to discuss all these things. You don't have to take everything I say as fact, but I think it's fun to do this. And I wonder if like the discussion surrounding this isn't just about, how do I say it? Like the discussion about the lore in this is not just like a black and white thing. It's about it being so many hints in a row, so many little details in a row that they make up a big detail. Because it's like, you can go to anyone about any story and be like, oh, like, did you hear about Marcus? And it's like, oh, I don't really believe that. But then you start showing all the little things. You're like, oh, they're starting to add up. And this thing that's really interesting to me as well, like the idea of like the difference between the light and the dark, the symbolism between Diluc and Kai, which I do think are going to come back up in the story. I do think that we're going to see them in a big way towards the end. I think Mondstadt might play a big like role in the end of this game as well. Also the idea that like, Mondstadt is like, the belief that Mondstadt is free, but the idea also is that like they have people there that could be watching it at any time, that it is a gateway to Celestia, is also a really interesting topic as well. I also never think about Venti as like that, and it's so cool to think about like Venti was around the same time as Istaroth. Like that's mind-blowing all the time. You could tell me again tomorrow, I'd still be like, it's so crazy. It's so freaking crazy. Yeah, like the idea of revenge against Mondstadt. I think it's perfectly reasonable to think as well that this game could end with Mondstadt as the final stage, and the church being like the cathedral being the final boss area. Like I think it's perfectly reasonable. I know obviously it'll probably end in Khaenri'ah or something like that. Again, I don't know because again there's gonna be like every single time I learn about lore in this game, like Genshin loves doing this thing where like you learn so much and you're like, okay, that's the answer, that's the answer, that's the answer, that's the answer, and then they go, okay, now here's 10 more questions. Here's 10, which I love. I love that about stuff like that. But I came from the Dark Souls world where as well, when it came to theories, it's like you will talk about like something like Velka throughout the whole entire first game. Then you'll talk about Velka throughout the whole second game. And then you get to the third game and the creator of the game is like, okay, here's all there is on Velka. It's just this tiny little slab that you found. And some creators were like, oh, this is kind of upsetting because I put so much time into Velka. But then like you look at it from the creator's perspective, which is like, well, I didn't want you to put so much time into this. And then there's other cases, I bet, like with characters and stuff, I guess, in stories where like people have not put their time into them and then the creators wanted you to put more time into them. But I think what's so good about a theory like this is that it doesn't like change your feelings on a character or anything like that, or doesn't change like how much you care about a character or care about the story. It just adds to it and like is a nice discussion to have. Yeah, and I'm up for any theory that has Fischl at the end of it becoming like the main character. And here's the thing: there's nothing in this theory I want to say as well that like has me in disbelief. You know what I mean? Like in terms of like I don't believe it, like I couldn't believe it. I'm sure you guys will have a lot to talk about as well. And Victoria, if you want to talk to me about it as well, please do. But there's nothing in this theory that like I would be like, oh, that's stupid, that's silly, I wouldn't believe that. Because sometimes you will have that, and that's good. It's good not to call it stupid. It's good to have like, I don't always believe that. I don't always believe that. We know now that like with the fairy tales that it can definitely be a real thing, the fairy tale stuff. So there's that. Like it can 100% be a thing that fairy tales can be real in this world. They can, and we've learned that. There's so much left to learn though as well. There's so much left to learn, and this was a really cool video. It's also really presented very well. This video, like presented extremely well. Hopefully don't destroy Monster though, because that's where I do all my crafting and stuff. It's like my favorite place in the world still because it feels like home. But thank you so much for sending in, Victoria. That was awesome. That was really good. I really liked how well presented that video was. Thank you so much for sending that in, Kelty. The next video is sent in by Malcolm Condé, and it is Are there even 1.0 players Genshin that will remember this? I think this is interesting. Like, it's kind of like, I guess, like, there's stuff that happened in 1.0 that, like, I wouldn't even know about, I suppose. Let's check it out.
You guys remember when Gooba looked like this?
Gooba?
Venti shot a black hole. Xiao know the lay plunge. Ayaka jumps out and cuts your head off.
What?
Mona? There are so
She had a different
many
design in
Genshin content
1.0?
about how to build characters. Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to my complete Genshin Impact review and guide. Lore, summons, commentaries, reaction, Hu Tao kiss, all the usual, but I don't really see anyone document and record a recollection of the past. A part of me does feel sad knowing that the early versions and memories of what used to be my whole quarantine is dead. That Genshin is long gone and you either don't know or weren't there when it happened. But I was there, so I will try my best to document what really happened and how it affects LeBron's legacy.
What is... Why would you do that?
Came out at a time where everything was shit. Online classes.
Good evening and shit. It's like 10:49 p.m.
You got viruses and vitamins everywhere. Everyone's just fucking depressed.
It was a crazy time.
No money. Staying inside all day. Well, that's just every year. And when we had just a few months left in 2020 to say goodbye and forget about all that happened, this Genshin. I don't really know what that says about me if my highlight of 2020 was a gacha game coming out.
No, do not feel bad about that, man. Like, when I think of 2020, I think of the fact that, like, in 1 month period, we got, like, Persona 5 Royal and, like, Resident Evil 3. And I remember that period of time when, like, so many, like, incredible games came out at one time. Or I remember, like, in 2019 or 2018, we got Dragon Quest, Yakuza Kiwami, and Shenmue Remastered all in 1 month. It was crazy. It was the highlight. It was such a highlight.
It really brought me back to a time where I was genuinely excited to play something rather than just playing a game because I have nothing to do. I got to Liyue in 1 day.
What?
And the day after, I already maxed out the statue. Yeah, that's illness. PS4 players got exclusive weapons and gliders. Little bit of cross-platform discrimination, but I'll let that slide for how fun the game was for the first week. The map at the time felt like it stretches out.
I think with the exclusives for PS4, they knew that at the time in 2020, people were buying consoles like crazy. So it made perfect sense to make it like an inviting thing for console players in a lot of ways.
China, if you enhance weapons, the leftover EXP just dies. Like, you don't even get any back.
What?
You actually had to eat food because your team didn't have a healer back then. Downloading the game was slow as shit. I remember
I do remember that.
Was to pause and unpause to get your internet back. 120
Everyone was talking about how crazy it was download time.
Sending your characters on an expedition made them unplayable.
I heard about this. This is insane.
You think I'm joking, but if you send Klee to the mines, she's literally in the mines spending 20 hours for like what, 8 stone? When somebody talked about their most hated or least played character, you would tell them to send them on expedition. Artifacts dropped on the floor, so every time you do a domain, you gotta pay respect to that shit like 10 times, and if you want to be the cause of someone's mental breakdown, here you go. Be the host. Now get an animo character with some suction. Now whip out that shit and suck all the artifacts into the void. Yeah! Leave right away. If you are a host and you leave, everyone leaves. So you just -5 someone's life away, because you gotta realize back then, nobody did damage, so your average domain time was way longer compared to today.
Are you serious?
The game was also pretty buggy. I mean, that's to be expected, but there was this Venti bug where you hold E, open camera, hide character, and he just Y-axis indefinitely.
What?
Yeah, that's a thing.
But that stuff's so fun, isn't it?
You just leave the camera and you would think, oh, he'll just be on the ground. No, he TPs to that location. Venti? No. Klee? Remember these limited banners? Klee's walk was actually changed. She got that marching band gait, you know? Why change walk if cute? Well...
Wait, did they change? Their walk was so cute.
On the topic of Klee, one of the classic Klee defining moments of this era that cement itself
Klee's the best.
in Genshin
Klee is the
history
best.
was the M-Tash trilogy. Is Klee worth it? I spent $2,000 on Klee. Klee sucks.
What? Is it this person? No.
This became one of the top Genshin posts on Reddit of all time to this day. Now that, just say the word, that's a classic. Tier list, anyone? No? So Genshin GG used to be that website you go to for information and guides, and they were okay, I guess. Nowadays, there's like a million Genshin GGs. They released this 1.0 tier list, and the thing with these tier lists is that every time there's just a minefield in the comment section. You can't please everybody, except this one. This one doesn't please anybody. It's not their fault. No one knew what was going on in 1.0. Take me, for example. 2 years in, and I still don't know what's going on. I found an old recording of me playing during these times. Just look at the way I played this fight out.
The Bait Club, by the way. Classic. Greatest weapon of all time. Oh, like the dodging and like this. I think this reminds me of how I was playing like for a long time.
Yeah, I think I'm esport ready. This was the day of physical Shangling and Fischl. Fischl, damn it. You guys think it's troll, but back then, this shit was the Wild West. No artifacts, just spam attack on everything.
For real, there's no artifacts.
Go. I'm not even kidding. Crescent Pike Shangling carried so many players back then. And let's not forget when the banner looked like this.
What?
You see this guy right here?
It's pretty.
He was that guy back then.
It's a really pretty banner.
Ah, shit. No, he's summoning bubbles.
Oh, hold up.
Oh, chill. What? He's just a bubble. Oh, hell no. Jesus, man. Why are you so mad?
He deserves to be mad. It's Diluc.
He throws out a fucking
So was Diluc like the top? Well,
though I'm not into hot men. I like them much cooler. We also had an event where if you reach AR20, you get
was
a free
Diluc
Barbara.
like the top character at the time?
I don't care what you guys say. Barbara is actually good.
She's great. She's fantastic.
Yeah, that fits. Our first gameplay event, and it was only co-op. You kill monsters, they drop cubes, put the cube in the oven, do it enough times and you win. Now, if you didn't play during those times, well, then that's really good. I'm so happy for you. But you know, back in the old days, we had to pay for everything, even for event rewards.
What?
Yeah, you want those heroes wits?
What?
You gotta pay it up. I think they're free nowadays, right? Not back then. Back then they weren't free.
It sounds like they did a lot of quality of life stuff with
they're
their fans.
basically ley lines with gameplay. Despite that, I had a ton of fun. I remember playing this shit like an MMORPG. Everyone played their shitty D-loop, Kaching, Venti. Oh, look at me. I want to be the main character. I want to do big damage. And looking at our team's draft, there was always a lack of support. And you know, me, being the guy who doesn't want to spend 3 minutes just to fail and get nothing, I got locked into Barbara every game. Just to heal, so they won't die.
She's great, though.
That's a classic. Now, if you aren't yet convulsing from all the nostalgia...
It's not nostalgia, it's confusion. There's a lot of new stuff.
Started to float around.
Alright. I say,
So you had a bunch of people go around and spread.
Wait, was that Drake?
Yeah.
I didn't know there was a time when he didn't have a beard.
So you had a bunch of people go around and spread just a little bit of misinformation about chess respawning. You know, I was walking my dog on the roof of Favonia's headquarters when suddenly a golden chest just popped out of nowhere. This is definitely not my first time seeing it. And then people would take a picture and say, damn, infinite chess glitch.
Wait, for real? Some say it's 1 week, some days it's 100 nights. What? This must have been just like an air. There's GG. This must have been just like an early thing, though, right?
Or the one in the bank. Holy shit, this was everywhere at the time. So many people
I heard you guys
saying,
told me
oh my
about this
God,
one though,
make
right?
Sure you come back to the bank every few days, like it was a welfare office. Oh, get your free 200k injection every week. Thank you, China. I mean, with all the theories and schizo posts about the golden chest, I actually started to doubt myself. Maybe I'm wrong. So I boot up Genshin, and you know what? I'll never trust the internet ever again. Then, THEN, you had quite possibly one of the biggest trollations of all time. AR42
What is this?
Ayaka.
What is this?
Did you know? To celebrate Genshin, we decided to give out a free 5-star limited character. I repeat, a free 5-star limited character. All you gotta do is get AR42, finish all the quests in Liyue, and Ayaka is yours. No catch, no strings attached.
For real?
She doesn't expire after 30 days. This all stemmed from the Chinese beta patch notes before the game even came out globally. The people saw a post about a beta and assumed, well, I mean, if they did it in test, they'll do it in live.
No,
so you had
I think
bunch
it
of Reddit
was
posts, YouTube videos, and just this kerfuffle of shit everywhere about free AR42 Ayaka. I tried searching.
Is this
for
what we heard
videos,
about
but
before?
knowing
Was
how
this
big
what?
of a sham?
Yeah, I think
all
people
the
probably got
Genshin
worked up
tubers
over
just got
nothing.
rid of them.
Yeah.
So to summarize, the only thing you should get out of this is that you are not allowed to shit talk Ayaka. We got it for free.
You Genshin players won't remember when we got Ayaka for free at AR42. You guys don't know that.
Which, by the way, pretty insane to get a character for free at AR42, right? Pretty insane.
That's not my problem. It's yours.
So back in my day, there was 3 ways to log into Genshin. Email, username, and your phone. Oh, I signed up with the usual email and username, but you know me, I wanted more security, protection. Getting hacked and losing weeks of my progress? GG. GG! So, I linked my phone number to my account. One day, I logged out of Genshin, and guess what happened? No, like seriously, guess what happened? Right in the middle was my phone number.
What?
What? No blur.
What?
No towel.
What if you're
butt-ass
streaming?
naked. Even if you sign up with an email or username, phone number is higher priority, so it shows it. Right there, in front of me.
What did streamers
in
do?
The login screen.
I guess they weren't
Hi,
playing on a
anyone
phone.
sees this, give me a call.
Yeah. And I got. Let's not talk about that anymore. You should be able to claim it if you did the card on that account. Then you should be able to claim.
Oh, the number is my phone number.
Don't say
I
it.
didn't realize. What the fuck?
You got doxed your phone number.
Yeah,
Oh,
I linked everything. Wow, okay. If you link your phone number, it just
That would
shows
be
it.
nuts.
They fixed it. No. Optimize. Let's use their word. A month later, in a small 1.0.1 maintenance, they optimized the PC client to increase MiHoYo account security. Thank you, MiHoYo. Imagine being a streamer in 1.0 and you accidentally showed the title screen. Yeah guys, the stream's not over, but my phone plan sure is. The game was new. There was a lot of bad things that were in the game that shouldn't have been there. But take everything I just said and get that shit out of here.
So yeah, by the way, having your phone number leaked. This loading time is crazy as well.
Put in a box, and it was worth it. Waking up on that beach like, man, where's my sister? Where is she jumping? Is he talking to a dragon? Giving a homeless lady a chicken skewer? That first time you walked into Mondstadt with that exaggerated swagger of a blonde traveler? Getting your wind glider? Oh shit, what
But I still
the
felt this though when I started
Meeting
playing the game.
Kaya for the first time.
Damn.
Noelle greeting you the first time you open up summons. Amber,
Oh my
Kaya,
god, this feels
Lisa
crazy.
Domain were a blast to play. This domain is literally a blast to play. Stealing a cup, giving it lotion.
This feels
Remember
so
when
crazy.
these guys
Remember
were the
this stuff?
scariest shit in the game? When you couldn't explore the Thousand Wind Temple because of this piece of shit. Holy shit, that island is so far away. Let me go and fly to it and check it out.
No.
I never made it.
No.
Or when you fell down and you found this dude only to realize that you're not supposed to be
Yes!
there. Or that
Oh,
one
that's
time you
exactly
brought
what happened to
someone
me.
a cliff and killed them.
Wait, you could have friendly fire? they're playing freaking tennis with Klee.
Infiltrating cold people, trying out D-Luke for the first time, being in the ocean but you're about to drown so you go emergency food? No. Lisa climbing. That's actually a classic. Trying to
Lisa
figure out how
climbing?
to destroy these food. No. Lisa climbing.
Genshin games when family walks by. Genshin games when you're alone. Oh, okay, I kind of get it. Okay.
That's actually a classic. Trying to figure out how to destroy these shitty dummies.
I think Lisa's
Seeing
outfit is
this every
nice.
time
I think
you
it's
open up the
tasteful.
launcher, that feeling of being lost and clueless, always switching an amber into the party so you can light puzzles and campfires. I am the bone of my soul.
I think I always look at the Genshin designs, girls and boys, as just designs, no matter how because I never think of it usually as what sometimes I do. You know what I mean? When you see Al-Haytham with his tight shirt, that's different, I suppose. But I always just see him as sick designs,
Dragon spine, you had to walk everywhere. This was quite possibly the most menacing place to ever exist.
Oh my god!
Watching down
yes,
Oculus.
at first when I went there first, it was literally this game can't get any scarier, can't get any better.
Videos and noting down every single one. Going to bed ah shit. What is that stamina bar? What is it? Remember when I said these guys were the scariest? I take it back. What
the really cool boss.
But you need to save up a lot. Like, if you want guaranteed 100% pity, it's 180 pulls.
Wait.
Yeah. Wait, no, isn't it 90?
Oh shit. Here we go again.
When you finally finish the Mondstadt questline, and your next stop is talking to Catherine in Liyue. That initial journey from Dawn Winery, the landscape slowly changing, Wangshu Inn, the orange plains, your map is just void, and finally, just as you are approaching the harbor, the music kicks in. And you just see a whole new city.
Oh my god, it was such a special time.
Boats, the people are different. After 10 years of walking, you finally reach
It was a long
Catherine,
walk, but I loved the
figuring
walk.
out how to reach the top of Qingyang
Yes.
Peak. Dandy glide challenges. Random ass kid in a forest. Oh, you thought one ruin guard was bad? Holy shit, what the fuck? Get me out of here! Ah! This bullshit ass quest? Which one do I hit?
Yes. This is exactly what I was doing. I'm so glad this is relatable.
Well, this guy can go kiss my ass! Chingsa Village OST. And once you've explored everything, it's finally time for this shit. I remember collecting all the Geoculus for the pillar because this was the only quest that gives a 5-star artifact and you thought, wow, it's gonna make you do 1,000,000 damage. Then you climb the pillar and your character fucking dies. I spent hours in this room. I just
Some of
wanna
the stuff I
mention
obviously don't
one more
recognize.
thing. The game came out, but you know what else also came out at the exact same time?
Some say a few are chosen and the rest are dregs. But I say we humans
Oh
have
my god, people talk about this all the time now.
This video, 3.6 just came out. I did all of that shit in 1.0. One last thing I forgot to mention is that in the Archon quest, a lot of people said that this lady right here was gonna be a playable character.
Wait, what? It just cut off. I guess it ended there or something. Maybe you had to cut something out or something? That happens. It does happen like that. Sometimes you have to cut stuff out like that. But yeah, that was a really interesting video, like talking about like all the stuff that like again, there was some nostalgic stuff for me there, even though it's only been like 6 months. But I think in general, like it's okay to have like nostalgia like that for games like that, even though they've only come out. It's been like almost 9 months now since I played. It's 8 months I think since I played Genshin for the first time. And like Mondstadt seemed like it was going to be peak. It was like, how can you top this? How can you top this? And I really enjoyed seeing that video, just seeing what the differences were. Like the friendly fire thing is to me is the craziest thing. I'm playing tennis with Klee, but that was really cool seeing that video because like again, my experience is like is with you guys, but you guys, you know, are kind of like coming at this from watching a player who only came in at like what, like I'm coming in now, like Natlan just dropped, and I came in like after the remnants of Fontaine. So I'm a very late game player, very late game. I remember I downloaded the game in 2020 and played it for, I played it like for like 2 minutes and then didn't play it. And you can see, like, I can even show you my other account. It literally says like 2 minutes played on it. And like, I remember the download time was insane. I remember it was so insane, the download time at the time. Yeah, it's really interesting. Thanks so much for sending in, Malcolm. That was really cool to see. The next video is sent in by Phantom Vaporeon, and it is another music video. Let's check it out. It's interesting. It looks different this time around. It says all attack moves, so I guess it's trying to show all the different attacks that are in this. Is it like a game? It's a mobile game, that's what Phantom Vaporeon said. So I didn't even know there's a mobile game about the series as well. Like, all these attacks are pretty freaking, like, colorful, right? They're colorful. There are some crazy attacks so far in this. It's actually like a really cool moveset. And I'm guessing it's turn-based? That's just like dual attacks as well. And like morph attacks? The like writing is very interesting too. It's very like Neo the World Ends With You in a way, right? The graffiti style, I guess. Jesus, gigantic. Okay, big battle armor. What the hell? It's like a bomb coming out. Yeah, the dual attacks are very interesting to me as well. Okay, that was just a straight up bomb. And that's what the game actually looks like. So it's like a turn-based game. Okay. Interesting. That's too big for you, girl. It's too big. But there was a Christmas thing? Why? What the hell did you just do? That was a guillotine. What the hell? These are like so like creative, and at the same time they're so bonkers because it's like we're on like an island. Oh my god, that's actually really cool. That's really cool. That's really cool. Was that a freaking Yuna? That's a Final Fantasy X parody. Oh, except it's a big hammer. Everything ends up just being bigger. Look, guys, I got this chain. Okay, that's actually pretty sick. These are all... Oh, okay. They're really cool movesets in some of these, like, and they're very creative. Like what? Like it makes me think like what even is this game? You know? I like the parodies. I do like the parodies. They're really cool. Nice color tone. Nice color tone. The different outfits are like really cool. There's such a variety. Like they're very creative, aren't they? They're very creative. I like when they show us the actual battle stuff as well, the actual like turn-based stuff, like in the actual game itself. All of them together? Like what is like some of these are just absolutely like again like they're all different colors, they're all different outfits. Like is this game like a gacha game as well? I love when they show this because actually it's a really cool like battle design and UI. It's a really cool battle design and UI. Oh, it's over. Okay. Jesus. Yeah, it was actually pretty cool. Like again, I was kind of like looking at some of them being like, okay, cool, because there's a lot of like, you know, there's only so much you could say about like, you know, like attacks every single time. But I loved when they got super creative with it. When they got super creative, that's when I was like super impressed by this stuff like that. And that's when I was like super into it, the idea of it then. Yeah, I think it was really, really freaking cool for the most part, like there, because I think obviously some of them were like, you know, less creative. I think that's kind of like almost like intentional in a way. because like it's like some of them are more grounded, I guess. But thank you very much for sending Phantom Vaporeon. It was like, you know, it was some really cool battle things. I think the best part of that was definitely like the creative stuff of that. Talk to me more about this. If you want to like do it in the Patreon chats or in the comment section, tell me about like the different costumes and the history behind them. Did they do like a Yuna parody from Final Fantasy X? Let me know. I think that'd be really cool to see. C. Khalad also sent in a video, but was very kind to say, like, you don't have to watch this, but took the time to make this video thinking that I wouldn't have Mualani by the time they actually made this video, which is very sweet. We're still going to watch it now, which is actually a demo, or I guess like a showcase for Romer, it's called, for Mualani, and I am so okay with watching this.
Video showcasing Mualani's abilities and some of her animations. I know you weren't able to play her trial since it has some Natlan spoilers in it.
So sweet.
If you don't want to see Mualani's abilities in a video and you want to check those out yourself in game once you get to Natlan once she has another rerun, feel free to skip this one and you can just do that.
We've gotten her. We have her now.
If you're curious about how she looks and how she plays, you can continue watching. I'm just going to run through her animations and then we'll end it off with a bit of her gameplay in the Abyss.
I'll say this now. Great voice for YouTube. I hope you're doing this a lot. Oh, just look at that. She's adorable. It's absolutely adorable. This is very sweet, by the way, for anyone to do this, and you like it's so sweet. What? She becomes like a balloon. She's just okay, just instant sweetheart. So this is like the throwing of the balloon stuff, which actually like is really cool to me. Very neat stuff. Oh my god, I love that. I actually love that. The freaking baseball bat hit. I know it's not a baseball bat, but it's like a baseball hit. Oh man, like again, this is like, can you imagine having this when you started the game, going through like Mondstadt and Liyue and stuff like this? Did you like go face first onto it as well? Oh my god, you can go like, oh my god, that's so cool. Oh! Even I'm like, that is so cool. She's an incredibly cool character. What even is Natlan? Like Natlan is not real. Oh, you have a Candace, by the way.
Off we go.
So here's some combat.
Into the wind.
I love all the Hillichars got up at the same time. Really nice.
Let's shred, Sharky.
This guy's just sitting here. We need to upgrade our Shangling, don't we? At some stage.
Alright, so Mualani is kind of a complicated character.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if you would really enjoy her even if you did end up getting her. But I'll show you how she works regardless. Just so I can explain it.
Yeah, I heard actually, C. Khalad, and talking directly to you, I heard that like a lot of people kind of have a similar take on that, where it's like crazy DPS, but people weren't sure if it's something I would enjoy or not. So like, I think that's actually very fair.
You use her skill. There's a bunch of little tick marks on the left-hand side of her, along with a bar. You fill up the tick marks by running into the enemy before her bar runs out. And then you attack. And it does big damage.
Wait, what?
Since Mualani attacks so slowly...
Oh, it's volume I have here.
You want to put Pyro on the enemy.
Let me see.
And then you attack. A bunch of little tick marks on the left-hand side of her.
I see,
along with
okay.
a bar. You fill up the tick marks by running into the enemy.
That's so cool.
Before her bar runs out. And then you attack. And it does big damage.
That seems so neat.
Since Mualani attacks so slowly, you want to put Pyro on the enemy. And then do her attack.
Holy hell.
Every time with a big vaporize hit. and that's how she works.
That is
So let's try that
crazy,
again
David.
with a
What the
real
hell?
team rotation. Keep in mind that my Mualani is Constellation 3 with an R3 signature weapon.
Oh, no, that's fair.
And also, this team is definitely not going to be one that you'll probably want to play, but I'm going to show you anyways.
Well, that's fair enough. No, it's just really cool to see the damage output anyway.
As one with wind and cloud.
Insane. Insane. Insane.
Get them! Eat this! Flee! We shall...
Cosmo's incredible.
Adorn mine.
Absolutely incredible.
Amazing!
As a character, yeah, she's like again, she has like a lot of skills to her. Like a lot of complications, I suppose. But very, very cool stuff here.
Get them! Eat this! Yield! We shall...
As one with wind and cloud.
Let's see, Cloud, I just want to reiterate that this is so sweet. This was so sweet. And I thank you so much.
Out of the frying pan, into the fire! You're toast!
Flee! Hear my breath! Fallen leaves.
Like, I think it's cool that they created a new way to do demos for characters, and I think it's way more immersive in a lot of ways, but I think that, like, it's kind of sad that I won't be able to do demos for newer characters anymore, just because I don't want to be spoiled on, like, the land of Natlan. I haven't seen anything from Natlan beyond the splash screen that's on the PlayStation 5 with the characters, but you can't avoid that. She's awesome. Like, and again, just, like, visually, she's awesome. And I think, like, you know, you guys know, like, that means a lot to me, having a character that visually just, like, on the screen looks like a lot of fun.
Grant us your blessing. Into the wind.
On the other side, that's the Spiral Abyss when you pick two teams, isn't it?
Do your work. One with nature.
So I mean, like, look at this stuff here. Like, again, like, obviously, like, you know, C-Collab is a way better player than I am. Like, we know this. But it's still cool to see, like, the showcase of, like, moves like this.
Clouds high. The birds...
I love the move. Like, again, it's very quick, isn't it? It's very quick, but, like, I feel like most of the moves are, and I think her one is just, like, very bright and colorful, which is nice. It really is.
Grant us your wind strider. As one with wind and cloud.
As one with wind and cloud, I agree.
Dance with me.
Amazing! Check this out!
Alright, that's all I have to showcase. Now, I am probably not going to be pulling the next character that's coming. I won't say who it is. But if anyone else is going to, you can go ahead and make another video like these if you want.
C-Claude.
To showcase that to Calvin, if he wants to see that. Again, my
Incredible.
Mualani is decently well built and with constellations and weapon refinements. So
Yeah.
don't expect your Mualani to be doing 1.4 million damage.
100%. I understand.
But she still will be doing big numbers. Anyway, that's it. Have fun with the game, Calvin.
No, thank you so much for being so sweet with that stuff. And making it so that I had a cool because even now, like, even though I tried her out, it's like so cool to see this type of video and so sweet. I have the best community in the whole world, and I thank you so much for sending in. Yeah, like, I love seeing people's build characters as well. That's why I wanted to do a series at some point where we showcased your guys' like parties and stuff like that, and like your things like that, just so I can see like what your favorite parties are and things like that. I think that'd be really, really fun. I think it'd be really fun because what you did there was like not only just sweet, but like really informative. Like, I think I can use Mualani now to an extent, not fully, probably not be great with her, but I think I can definitely do something with her. And like, it was really well explained, really well described. You talked when you needed to. Let the gameplay speak for itself as well. That's a sign of a good YouTuber. Yeah, really fantastic stuff. The next video is the last video sent in by Neko-san, and this video is Fantastic Beasts and how to keep them too. And we saw the first one of this, so let's check this out right now. Oh man. Oh man, look at them. So adorable. So adorable. I love that. That's right. That's albedo, right? That's an albedo little lion and a child fox. I love them cleaning up. This is adorable. Absolutely adorable. Oh my lord. And the smile on the face. You just bring him on. Who's there? Who's there? Oh, Zhongli. And Hu Tao jumps on top of him, which is very sweet. And Xiao. That's adorable. Absolutely adorable. Oh my god, Nahida as well, and all the Sumeru crew. Wait a second. Please show me more of the Sumeru crew. There's a lot. Oh my, look at Dory. Dory being a sheep is adorable. Dory being a sheep is so cute. You making food? Is that Razor making some food with Benny? With his spirit freaking flipping the egg. Oh, Sino. Wait, I hate them. I like them didn't say anything. Could you imagine Xiao meeting Sino? It would be the craziest day of all of our lives. And of course, Venti's just sleeping. Venti's the type of person to bring his children over and then not take care of them. You know what I mean? Be the one to lie down and everyone else is taking care of them. And I mean that like in a very sweet way. Oh my god, look at that. That's adorable. Tanari, oh my god. Let me walk it in. Is that a Yoimiya? And a Kazuha? Look at Saito. This is so sweet. Yeah, Hu Tao, you tell him. This is so sweet. This is so... I love that, like, I'll hate them is nearly a, like a human with the way he is as an animal. This is so pretty. Look at you, Benny. Of course, Benny's unlucky. It's so sweet. And it's like around, like, they're all opening presents and stuff. What you get, Kazuha? What you get? Got you. It's the most adorable thing in the world seeing them all like this. I can't, oh my god, Christmas. Oh my god, could you imagine spending Christmas with these guys? Well earned, well earned. After all that food and all that prep. Good on you, Venti. Sweetheart of sweethearts. You gotta accept it. He's growing a tail. Oh my god, it's so pretty! The Klee as well. They do such a good job with this, like, because you can, like, kind of understand it right away. Some of them need to look at it twice, but that's so... Oh, they're not taking a picture, are they? That's so pretty. This is the best. It truly is the best. And that is the end of Roam Reacts today. That was such a sweet video as well. I love seeing them all together. I love seeing them all like that. And it was absolutely just like a blast as always, because I love seeing the way they depict characters and people depict characters like in a different light, I suppose, is always really neat. Because it's not always like, it's not always like so clear, but some people are able to make it so clear like that and make it absolutely adorable as well. Thank you so much for sending it in. And that's going to do for Rome Reacts this week. And we had, I believe, 2 Rome Reacts this week because the video, I think the recording time got well over nearly to 5 hours long, which is crazy, which just means we have a lot more submissions. So we're gonna, like, obviously, like, things will be maybe not as long every single week, but this week we got a lot of great videos. Like, I think, like, we had, like, just really fantastic videos. So many emotional ones, funny ones, hilarious ones, and, like, I really feel like Rome Reacts is a show where I get to learn more about the patrons and what they're into in a lot of ways too. Thank you so much to TieFire2, Jamie Bull, Janet the Banana, the Ghost of Inazuma, Felicious Felix, Ewald, Radish, Anusa, Shabbatarbed, Malcolm Day, Death Trap, and Links Marky. Ewald, your name is so beautiful that we tripped over it. Really, I just tripped over it, I'm so sorry, Ewald. I'll see you guys very soon. Bye-bye.